Good evening. Welcome. Tonight, we gently embark together on a journey toward inner clarity and profound stillness. The path of mental minimalism, deeply rooted in Zen Buddhist wisdom, invites us to release the accumulation of unnecessary thoughts and concerns, much like decluttering a physical space to reveal its inherent beauty. Before we settle in, if you feel moved, please share your current location and the time there. From which part of the world are you breathing with us at this moment? This particular space offers a sanctuary for inner cultivation, designed to nourish your mind and gently awaken your spirit. Here, you are simply invited to be, to breathe, and to allow these words to guide you inward, toward an inherent wisdom that already resides within. We are not seeking to acquire anything new, but rather to softly remember the profound stillness and sufficiency that is your original nature. Should these quiet reflections resonate deeply within your being, we invite you to return whenever this peaceful encounter calls to you. Consider subscribing to keep this harbor of tranquility readily accessible. Now, take a deep, conscious breath and allow yourself to be fully present. The weaver's tangled threads. The human mind, in its intricate workings, can often be likened to a master weaver's loom, a complex apparatus where countless threads of thought are spun, dyed, and interlaced into the fabric of our daily experience. Each idea, each perception, each memory is a fiber, sometimes vibrant and purposeful, other times dulled and frayed. Without conscious attention, this magnificent loom can become a place of profound cognitive overload, where an abundance of unfinished patterns, discarded scraps, and tangled knots begin to accumulate, obscuring the clarity and beauty of the intended design. This incessant mental activity, often fueled by an automatic attachment to every passing notion, can create a heavy, dense tapestry that weighs upon our inner spaciousness, preventing the lightness and freedom that arise from a decluttered awareness. We find ourselves bound by the very creations of our own minds, trapped in a web of our own making, yearning for a simpler, more coherent existence. In a quiet, sun-drenched valley, nestled beside a whispering grove of ancient oaks, lived Ilara, a weaver of legendary skill whose workshop was once a testament to meticulous craftsmanship and serene order. The rhythmic clack of her loom, a comforting heartbeat, resonated through the timbered walls, accompanied by the gentle rustle of raw silk and the earthy scent of natural dyes. Yet, in recent seasons, a subtle disquiet had begun to permeate her space. Piles of unfinished projects, vibrant but incomplete, lay scattered across her large wooden tables, their threads spilling over the edges like forgotten rivers. Skeins of wool, once neatly organized by shade and texture, now commingled in chaotic heaps, each strand a silent testament to a passing thought, a fleeting inspiration, or a worry that had interrupted her focused work. The once clear light filtering through her tall windows now seemed to struggle, absorbed by the sheer volume of accumulated material, creating a pervasive sense of mental density. Ilara found herself increasingly overwhelmed, her breath often shallow as she surveyed the burgeoning chaos. The once joyful act of weaving had become a struggle against the very threads she loved. She would sit at her loom, her fingers hovering over the shuttle, but her gaze would drift to a half-woven scarf, a basket overflowing with discarded fabric scraps, or a forgotten design sketch crumpled on the floor. The faint smell of stale tea leaves mingled with the lingering aroma of old wool, and the soft hum of dust motes dancing in the limited shafts of sunlight seemed to mock her inability to find clarity. Each stray object, each orphaned thread, represented a piece of her mental landscape, a small concern or an unfulfilled intention that silently clamored for her attention, pulling her focus away from the present moment's creative potential. This constant mental fragmentation left her feeling exhausted, her spirit as tangled as the threads around her. One crisp autumn afternoon, as a particularly stubborn knot formed in a delicate silk warp, Ilara paused, her usually nimble fingers stilled by frustration. She leaned back, sighing, and her eyes fell upon a small, forgotten corner of her workshop, previously obscured by a stack of old blankets. There, on a clean, simple wooden shelf, sat a single, perfectly spun spool of indigo thread, untouched by the surrounding disarray. Its deep, rich color seemed to vibrate with a quiet strength, a testament to its singular purpose. In that moment of profound stillness, a gentle understanding began to dawn within her. The beauty of that single spool was not in its complexity, but in its pristine simplicity, its readiness to be used with clear intention. It was a stark contrast to the overwhelming clutter that had choked her creativity, offering a glimpse into a different way of being, a path toward inner freedom. Ilara realized that her workshop's disarray mirrored the state of her own mind, a mind cluttered with half-formed ideas, past regrets, and future anxieties, each vying for attention. She saw that she had become attached to every thread, every scrap, believing each held some potential, unwilling to let anything go. This attachment, this trishna, was the root of her suffering, the source of her creative paralysis. With a deep, conscious breath, she began to move, not with frantic energy, but with a newfound intentionality. She started by clearing a small patch of her table, carefully sorting the threads, discarding the truly useless, neatly coiling those that held genuine purpose. This simple act, performed with full presence, brought a surprising sense of spaciousness, a quiet joy she had not felt in months. Ilara's journey illustrates a core tenet of Buddhist practice: the necessity of non-striving and the wisdom of letting go. Just as her workshop became clear through deliberate action and the release of attachment, our minds can achieve profound stillness by consciously disentangling ourselves from the endless stream of thoughts that do not serve our genuine well-being. The concept of anicca, impermanence, reminds us that thoughts are fleeting, not fixed entities to be grasped. When we cling to every idea, every worry, every half-formed plan, we create a dense mental landscape, much like Ilara's overflowing tables. The practice of mindfulness, or sati, allows us to observe these mental threads without judgment, recognizing which ones truly belong in the present moment's tapestry, and which can be gently set aside, fostering a sense of inner freedom. This process of mental decluttering is not about emptying the mind entirely, but about cultivating a more spacious awareness, an environment where clarity can naturally arise. It is an act of radical acceptance, acknowledging the presence of thoughts without allowing them to dictate our inner state. When we practice letting go, we are not denying the existence of concerns, but rather choosing not to be entangled by them, recognizing their transient nature. This intentional release creates room for deeper concentration, samadhi, and allows us to perceive our original nature, the inherent wisdom that lies beneath the surface of mental noise. Just as Ilara found renewed purpose in her weaving by creating space, we find greater peace and effectiveness in our lives by making room for what truly matters, fostering a groundedness in the present. The esteemed Zen master, Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, once observed, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few." This profound insight speaks directly to Ilara's experience and our own. When her mind was cluttered, she was an expert, burdened by past projects and future anxieties, limiting her creative possibilities. By embracing a beginner's mind, a shoshin, she allowed herself to see her workshop and her practice anew, with fresh eyes and an open heart. This radical acceptance of the present moment, free from the weight of accumulated mental baggage, unlocks a boundless potential for clarity and peace, revealing that true wisdom often lies in simplicity, in the spaciousness of not knowing, and the willingness to just be. Consider for a moment your own mental workshop. What are the tangled threads you find yourself holding on to, the unfinished projects that clutter your inner space? Are there worries about the future or regrets from the past that prevent you from fully engaging with the present moment's loom? Allow yourself to gently observe these mental accumulations without judgment, simply noticing their presence. There is no need to forcefully untangle every knot at once. Simply becoming aware of the clutter is the first step toward cultivating a more spacious and intentional mind. This practice of observing awareness, born from a place of self-compassion, invites us to slowly, patiently, begin the work of mental minimalism, liberating our attention from the non-essential. As Ilara continued to clear her physical and mental space, she discovered that the purity of her materials and the simplicity of her design allowed her true artistry to shine forth with an effortless grace. The light in her workshop grew brighter, reflecting the newfound clarity within her. This journey of refining our inner landscape, much like a potter preparing their clay, is a continuous process of discerning what serves our highest purpose and what merely adds unnecessary weight. We will now turn our attention to another craftsman, a young potter whose early struggles with his raw materials illuminate the subtle impurities that can weigh down our mental state, preventing the creation of something truly whole and enduring. The potter's impure clay. Just as a skilled potter understands the critical importance of pure, well-prepared clay for crafting vessels that endure, so too must we attend to the quality of our inner landscape. The mind, when burdened by unseen pebbles of worry, subtle air bubbles of anxiety, or unexpected fragments of past grievances, struggles to form a coherent and resilient shape. These impurities, often unnoticed in their raw state, reveal themselves only under the heat of daily life, causing cracks, weaknesses, and eventual collapse in our mental constructs. We might strive for inner peace, for contentment, or for a sense of deep grounding, but if the foundational material of our awareness is compromised, our efforts will always be undermined. The practice of mental minimalism, therefore, extends beyond merely decluttering, reaching into the very refinement of our foundational perceptions and reactions, ensuring a clear and stable base for our experience. In a village renowned for its earthenware, where the scent of damp earth and wood smoke perpetually hung in the air, lived Kale, a young potter whose passion was as fervent as the kiln fires he tended. He worked tirelessly, shaping bowls, plates, and delicate vases with an earnest dedication. Yet, despite his prodigious effort and a natural talent for form, his creations consistently failed. After hours of meticulous work on the wheel and the anxious wait through the firing process, his beautiful vessels would emerge from the kiln marred by hairline cracks, or sometimes shattering entirely into dusty fragments. a pervasive sense of disappointment, a subtle suffering began to settle over Kale, clouding his usually bright disposition. He felt an inexplicable lack of control, a gnawing frustration that whispered of some unseen flaw in his artistry. Kale would spend long solitary hours examining the broken pieces, tracing the jagged lines of failure, trying to discern the source of his persistent misfortune. He experimented with different glazes, varied his firing temperatures, and even altered the shapes of his vessels, but nothing seemed to resolve the fundamental issue. The village elders, observing his struggle, offered kind but unhelpful advice, speaking of patience and perseverance, qualities Kale already possessed in abundance. The problem, he intuitively felt, lay deeper, beyond the surface of his technique. He noticed a subtle grittiness in his clay, a faint resistance under his hands as he centered it on the wheel, but he dismissed it as a minor imperfection, believing his skill could overcome any small impediment. This subtle neglect of the foundational material was the very root of his repeated failures, keeping him from true mastery. One sweltering afternoon, as Kale prepared a new batch of clay, his frustration peaked. He slammed a lump of clay onto his workbench, and a small, sharp pebble, no larger than a grain of rice, dislodged itself and skittered across the wooden surface. It was then, in that moment of acute awareness, that the truth struck him with the force of a revelation. The cracks in his finished pots were not due to his shaping, nor his firing, but to these tiny, unyielding impurities embedded within the very clay itself. These seemingly insignificant fragments, invisible to the casual eye, expanded and contracted differently than the clay during the intense heat of the kiln, creating internal stresses that inevitably led to breakage. His previous efforts had been akin to building a magnificent house on a foundation riddled with hidden weaknesses. With this newfound understanding, Kale embarked on a meticulous new practice. Before he even touched the potter's wheel, he would spend hours, sometimes an entire day, preparing his clay. He would slice it thin, knead it with deliberate intention, and carefully inspect every inch, feeling for the slightest irregularity. He pressed the clay through fine sieves, removing every pebble, every twig, every unseen air bubble, ensuring a perfectly homogeneous, pliable material. This was a slow, painstaking process, requiring immense patience and full presence, a deep engagement with the raw earth. The physical effort was considerable, but the mental clarity it brought was even more profound. He discovered a quiet contentment, a metta, in this foundational work, recognizing its essential role in the eventual beauty of his craft. This transformation in Kale's approach profoundly impacted his pottery. His vessels, once prone to breakage, now emerged from the kiln with a flawless integrity, their surfaces smooth and strong, their forms perfectly preserved. The subtle grittiness under his hands had been replaced by a yielding softness, allowing him to shape with greater freedom and precision. This shift mirrored a deeper change within Kale himself. He had learned that true mastery, whether in pottery or in life, begins not with the grand gesture, but with the meticulous attention to the fundamental, often unseen elements. His equanimous observation of the clay, his willingness to engage with the raw material without rushing, had taught him the value of purity, both in his craft and in his mind. Kale's journey beautifully illustrates the principle of nirodha, the cessation of suffering through the removal of its causes. His suffering in pottery stemmed from the impure clay, just as our mental suffering often arises from the impure thoughts and worries we carry. By diligently removing these impurities, he brought forth not only perfect pots, but also a sense of inner peace and sufficiency. The practice of anapanasati, conscious breathing, can be seen as a form of sifting our mental clay, allowing us to observe the pebbles of worry or the air bubbles of anxiety and gently letting them go. This cultivation of a clean, clear mental space is the foundation for genuine wisdom, prajna, enabling us to create a life of greater strength and inner freedom. The esteemed Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh often spoke of watering the seeds of joy. In Kale's case, he was meticulously unwatering the seeds of failure by removing the impurities. This is not a passive process, but an active, gentle engagement with our inner world. We are invited to cultivate a radical acceptance of what is present, and then, with discerning awareness, to release what does not serve our highest good. This is the essence of vipassana, insight meditation, observing the content of our minds without judgment and understanding its impermanent nature. By doing so, we create a sense of spaciousness, a profound stillness that allows our original nature, free from the weight of unnecessary mental constructs, to shine through. Think for a moment about the clay of your own mind. What are the subtle impurities you might be carrying? Are there small, persistent worries, like tiny pebbles, that create internal stress and prevent your mental formations from holding together? Perhaps there are unacknowledged anxieties, like air bubbles, that weaken your sense of groundedness. There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle, observing awareness. This practice of self-knowledge, of looking inward with compassion, allows us to identify these elements and, with intentionality, begin the process of refinement. Just as Kale's pots found their true form in the purity of their material, our minds find their deepest peace in the clarity of an unburdened awareness, moving towards a state of contentment. Kale's meticulous preparation of his clay, ensuring its purity and integrity, became the bedrock of his success, allowing his artistry to flourish without the constant threat of breakage. This diligent attention to the foundational elements of his craft illuminated the path to profound stillness and lasting beauty. Similarly, a mind free from the impurities of persistent, useless worries becomes a clear lens through which we can perceive the world with greater clarity and purpose. We will now explore how the accumulation of these mental burdens can obscure our inner light, much like a lighthouse keeper whose vital lamp becomes dimmed not by the external fog, but by layers of dust and forgotten tools, preventing it from illuminating the essential truths, the lighthouse keeper's foggy lamp. Our inner wisdom, that inherent capacity for clarity and insight, can be thought of as a powerful lighthouse designed to cast its guiding beam across the vast and sometimes turbulent seas of our experience. This light is a constant, unwavering presence, a source of guidance and solace. However, persistent worries, the relentless accumulation of mental burdens, and the unexamined clutter of daily concerns can act like layers of dust and forgotten debris, slowly obscuring the lamp's vital lens. It is not the external storms or the natural fogs of life that truly diminish its brilliance, but rather the internal neglect, the failure to attend to the maintenance of our own inner beacon. When this happens, our capacity for clear perception is compromised, and we struggle to navigate, feeling lost even amidst familiar surroundings. On a craggy, windswept promontory overlooking a restless sapphire sea, lived Lyra, the keeper of the ancient lighthouse known as the Star of the West. Her duty was sacred, to ensure its powerful beam cut through the darkest nights and densest fogs, guiding ships safely to harbour. For many years, Lyra performed her task with unwavering dedication. Her presence a comforting constant to the mariners who relied on her light. The rhythmic sweep of the beam across the waves was a testament to her meticulous care, a profound stillness in the face of the ocean's vastness. She kept the brass fittings polished, the intricate mechanisms oiled, and the great lens gleaming, understanding that its clarity was paramount to the safety of those at sea. Yet, as the seasons turned and years accumulated, a subtle shift began to occur in Lyra's routine, mirroring a growing disquiet within her own mind. She started to accumulate small, seemingly insignificant objects around the base of the lamp. A forgotten wrench, a stack of old charts she meant to organize, a half-finished knitting project, a collection of smooth, sea-worn pebbles she had gathered. Each item, on its own, was harmless, but collectively, they began to encroach upon the pristine space of the lamp. A thin film of dust, once wiped away daily, now settled undisturbed, gradually dulling the reflective surfaces. The air, once crisp and clean, now carried the faint scent of neglect, a subtle heaviness that went unnoticed by Lyra. So accustomed had she become to its gradual encroachment. The light, though still shining, began to lose its sharp definition, its edges softened by the layers of accumulated distraction. Mariners, accustomed to its piercing clarity, started to report a dimmer, more diffused beam, struggling to distinguish it from the distant stars. Lyra, though she heard their concerns, often dismissed them, attributing the issue to unusually thick fogs or the sailors' aging eyes. She was so close to the problem, so accustomed to the gradual darkening, that she could no longer perceive the true state of her own lamp. The very worries about the light's performance, the fear of failure, became another layer of dust, further obscuring her ability to clearly assess and address the issue, deepening her sense of inner suffering. One stormy night, as the waves crashed violently against the rocks below, threatening a fishing vessel struggling to find its way, Lyra rushed to the lamp, her heart pounding with urgency. As she peered through the main lens, she saw not the crisp, guiding beam she expected, but a hazy glow, struggling to penetrate the driving rain. Her gaze then fell upon the clutter around the lamp's base, the forgotten tools, the dusty charts, the scattered pebbles. In that moment of intense clarity, a flash of insight, she realized the true impediment was not the storm outside, but the accumulated neglect within her own sacred space. The light had always been powerful, but its pathway had been choked by her own inattention, her lack of full presence. With a renewed sense of intentionality, Lyra began to clear her space. She meticulously removed every item that did not serve the lamp's primary function, wiping away years of accumulated dust and grime. She polished the brass, cleaned the lens until it gleamed, and carefully organized her tools. It was a slow, deliberate process, requiring profound stillness and focused concentration, a true practice of mental minimalism. As she worked, she felt a corresponding clarity emerge within her own mind. The act of external decluttering mirrored an internal release, a letting go of the mental burdens that had dimmed her own inner light. The scent of clean metal and clear glass replaced the stale air, a testament to her renewed commitment. When the storm finally broke and the clouds began to part, Lyra lit the lamp once more. This time, the beam shot forth with an astonishing brilliance, cutting through the lingering mist with an unparalleled sharpness. Its light, vibrant and true, stretched far across the now calmer waters, a beacon of hope and unwavering guidance. The mariners below, seeing its restored power, cheered from their decks, their relief palpable even from afar. Lyra stood watching, a profound sense of contentment washing over her. She understood that the light had never truly diminished. It had merely been obscured by her own inattention, by the mental clutter she had allowed to accumulate around its source. Her practice of non-attachment to these distractions had restored her inner radiance. Lyra's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as a spaciousness that allows clarity to emerge. The light itself was never empty or lacking, it was simply veiled. Similarly, our Buddha mind, our original nature, is always present, but it can be obscured by the accumulation of useless worries and mental debris. The practice of equanimous observation, vipassana, allows us to notice these obscurations without judgment, creating the space for them to naturally dissipate. This is the essence of inner freedom, recognizing that we do not need to generate light. We simply need to remove what is blocking its inherent radiance, fostering a deep sense of sufficiency and inner peace. Alan Watts, with his characteristic eloquence, often spoke of how we try too hard to grasp at understanding, when sometimes the greatest wisdom comes from letting go of the effort. Lyra, by letting go of the accumulated clutter and the worries about the light, allowed its natural brilliance to re-emerge. This is the path of wu-wei, effortless action, where clarity arises not from striving, but from aligning with the natural flow of things. Our responsibility is not to create our inner light, but to ensure that its lens remains unclouded, free from the trishna of unnecessary mental attachments. This is a profound act of self-compassion, allowing ourselves to rest in the spaciousness of an unburdened mind, embracing our full presence. Consider the lamp of your own awareness. What are the layers of dust, the forgotten tools, or the scattered pebbles of concern that might be dimming your inner light? Are there persistent worries about trivial matters or anxieties about hypothetical futures that obscure your clarity in the present moment? Allow yourself to gently observe these mental accumulations without judgment, without the need to immediately fix them. Simply noticing them with a soft and accepting awareness is the first step toward clearing your inner space. This act of conscious breathing, of bringing full presence to your inner landscape, is the most profound way to restore the brilliance of your own guiding light, fostering a deep sense of contentment and peace. The meticulous care Lyra now dedicated to her lighthouse, ensuring its lens remained clear and its mechanisms free of obstruction, allowed its beam to shine with unwavering strength, guiding ships through the darkest nights. This practice of consistent attention to the essential and the willingness to let go of the non-essential is a powerful metaphor for our own mental well-being. We will now turn our attention to another craftsman, a revered scribe whose desk, burdened by the weight of countless scrolls representing half-formed ideas and past regrets, reveals the profound stillness that emerges when we learn to address and release the burden of unfinished mental business, cultivating a mind rooted in the present. The scribe's overloaded desk. Our minds often function like a scribe's desk, a space where countless thoughts, tasks, and reflections are inscribed, reviewed, and sometimes left unfinished. The weight of this mental, unfinished business can become a significant burden, a pervasive sense of low-level anxiety that constantly pulls at our attention. Each half-formed idea, each unresolved conversation, each forgotten commitment acts like a half-written scroll, adding to a chaotic pile that obscures clarity and prevents a sense of true completion. This mental clutter, unlike a physical mess that can be ignored, subtly drains our energy, making it difficult to find the profound stillness and full presence necessary for deep concentration and genuine contentment. The practice of mental minimalism, in this context, involves a deliberate process of either completing or consciously releasing these mental inscriptions, creating spaciousness for what truly matters. In a bustling city district, where the scent of ink and aged parchment mingled with the distant calls of street vendors, lived Master Kenzo, a scribe revered for the elegant precision of his calligraphy and the profound wisdom contained within his meticulously copied texts. His small, sun-drenched study, usually a sanctuary of quiet order, had over time transformed into a chaotic repository of his own mental landscape. His large wooden desk, a venerable piece of craftsmanship, groaned under the weight of countless scrolls, some tightly rolled and bound, others half unfurled, their edges curling like forgotten whispers. Each scroll represented a half-formed idea for a new commentary, a past regret, a lingering concern, or a task he had begun but never quite brought to completion. The air, once filled with the serene quiet of focused work, now felt heavy with unspoken intentions and unresolved thoughts. Master Kenzo found himself increasingly fragmented, his once clear mind now a whirlwind of internal dialogues. He would pick up a brush, intending to begin a new copy of a sacred text, but his gaze would inevitably fall upon a stack of scrolls detailing a minor dispute he had with a merchant months ago, or a half-written poem about a fleeting moment he wished he had savoured more deeply. The rustle of paper, the faint scent of old ink, and the sheer visual clutter created a constant hum of distraction, preventing him from settling into the profound stillness required for his art. His posture, once erect and confident, now carried a subtle stoop, reflecting the mental burden he unknowingly bore. He felt a deep sense of anicca, the impermanence of his own focus, as his attention darted from one unfinished thought to another, leaving him perpetually exhausted. One quiet evening, as a soft rain began to patter against his window, Master Kenzo sat at his desk, feeling an overwhelming sense of inertia. He looked at a particular scroll, its edges frayed, containing notes for a lecture he had planned to give years ago, but never did. The weight of that unfulfilled intention, among so many others, suddenly felt unbearable. He remembered the teaching of his own master, who had once said, "The mind is like a vessel. If it is always full of yesterday's water, how can it hold today's fresh dew?" In that moment, a profound realization washed over him. The true elegance of a scribe's work lay not just in the beauty of the characters, but in the clarity of the page, the spaciousness that allowed each stroke to fully exist. His desk, and by extension his mind, was devoid of this essential emptiness, this sunyata. With a deep, conscious breath, Master Kenzo began a new practice. He decided to address each scroll, one by one, with full presence. For some, he found he could complete the task quickly, bringing a sense of closure. For others, particularly those representing past regrets or future anxieties beyond his control, he made a conscious decision to release them. He carefully rolled them up, tied them with a simple string, and placed them in a designated release box, acknowledging their presence, but consciously choosing not to carry their weight any longer. This was not an act of forgetting, but an act of intentional letting go, a practice of non-attachment, allowing his mind to experience a lighter, more grounded state. As Master Kenzo systematically cleared his desk, a remarkable transformation began to unfold within him. The physical act of decluttering his workspace mirrored a deep internal process of mental minimalism. The chaotic pile of scrolls slowly diminished, revealing the rich, dark wood of his desk, a symbol of stability and presence. The air in his study felt lighter, imbued with a newfound sense of spaciousness. He found that his concentration, his samadhi, deepened effortlessly. When he picked up his brush, his hand moved with a fluid grace he had not experienced in years, each stroke imbued with a clarity and intention that radiated from a mind free of unnecessary burdens. This ethical practice, sila, of tending to his mental space brought immense inner peace. Master Kenzo's journey beautifully illustrates the burden of Trishna, or craving not just for material possessions, but for holding on to every thought, every plan, every past event. His suffering, his dukkha, stemmed from this subtle attachment to the mental clutter. By actively engaging in the process of letting go, he cultivated a profound stillness, a state of mushin, or no mind, where his actions flowed naturally from a place of clear awareness. This is the essence of the Noble Eightfold Path: right effort in discerning what serves us, and right mindfulness in attending to the present moment. His commitment to clearing his mental desk allowed his original nature, his Buddha mind, to shine through, unburdened by the weight of unresolved thoughts. The great Zen master Dogen Zenji taught the practice of shikantaza, or just sitting, which emphasizes simply being present with whatever arises, without grasping or pushing away. Master Kenzo's process of addressing each scroll, either completing it or consciously releasing it, is an active form of this just sitting, engaging with the content of his mind with intentionality, rather than allowing it to passively accumulate. This is the path to inner freedom, recognizing that our well-being is not dependent on the absence of thoughts, but on our relationship to them. By choosing to either conclude or release, we cultivate a deep sense of contentment and self-knowledge, fostering a spaciousness that allows for true concentration. Consider your own mental desk. What are the half-written scrolls, the unfinished thoughts, the unresolved concerns that might be silently accumulating, adding weight to your inner landscape? Are there tasks you've postponed, conversations you've avoided, or past events you replay endlessly? There is no need for self-reproach, only a gentle invitation to observe. Perhaps you can choose one small scroll to address today, either by taking a concrete step toward its completion, or by consciously acknowledging its presence and then gently releasing your attachment to it. This intentional practice, even in small increments, cultivates a sense of sufficiency and allows for deeper peace, fostering a groundedness in the present moment. As Master Kenzo's desk became a space of elegant simplicity and his mind a realm of profound stillness, his calligraphy attained a new level of grace, each character imbued with the clarity of an unburdened spirit. His journey illuminates the truth that true guidance and effectiveness often come from discerning the essential and releasing the superfluous. We will now explore a similar principle through the eyes of Anya, a cartographer who, in her zealous attempt to map every pebble and blade of grass, lost the very essence of the journey, discovering that true direction lies not in exhaustive detail, but in the wisdom of perceiving the essential contours and letting go of unnecessary markings, the cartographer's unnecessary details. In our continuous quest to navigate the complexities of life, we often find ourselves acting as mental cartographers, meticulously attempting to map every potential outcome, every possible pitfall, and every conceivable detail of our future paths. This impulse to overplan and overanalyze, while seemingly prudent, can become a profound burden, creating a mental map so dense with unnecessary details that the essential routes and landmarks become obscured. we become trapped in the intricate projections of our own minds, losing sight of the actual terrain of the present moment. The practice of mental minimalism, in this context, invites us to discern the vital contours, to trust in the broader strokes of direction, and to release the exhaustive, often anxiety-inducing, need to map every single pebble along the way. In a secluded mountain village, known for its ancient trade routes and the intrepid explorers it produced, lived Anya, a cartographer whose talent for detail was legendary. Her maps were renowned for their breathtaking precision, depicting not just the major rivers and mountain ranges, but also every small stream, every cluster of trees, and even the subtle undulations of the smallest hills. She believed that true guidance lay in absolute completeness, in leaving no stone unturned, no detail unrecorded. Her studio was filled with countless charts, each a testament to her tireless dedication. The scent of aged paper and fine ink a constant presence, a symbol of her deep commitment to her craft and her intense focus. Yet, over time, Anya found herself increasingly burdened by her own meticulousness. Her maps, though beautiful, became almost unusable in their complexity. A traveler, seeking a simple path from one village to another, would pore over Anya's intricate creations, bewildered by the sheer volume of information. Every tiny rock formation, every ephemeral seasonal stream, every individual tree was rendered with such fidelity that the main trails, the essential routes, were lost in a labyrinth of superfluous markings. Anya herself, when she ventured out, found her mind constantly comparing the real landscape to her internal map, often feeling a subtle anxiety that she had missed a detail, or that the path was not exactly as she had drawn it, preventing her from experiencing true, full presence. Anya's sleep became restless, her dreams filled with endless lines and symbols, her mind unable to find rest from the constant demand for perfect detail. She began to carry a heavy satchel filled with her own maps, believing she needed them for every step, yet finding them more of a hindrance than a help. The weight of the parchment, the endless deciphering, and the fear of missing something vital left her exhausted and perpetually tense. She was caught in a cycle of trishna, a craving for absolute control and complete knowledge, which ironically led to more confusion and a deeper sense of suffering. The beauty of the landscape around her, the subtle changes in light and shadow, the scent of wild herbs, all faded into the background, overshadowed by her mental projections. One crisp morning, while attempting to remap a familiar forest path that had recently been altered by a small landslide, Anya found herself utterly lost amidst her own detailed charts. The path, though still recognizable, was not precisely as she had drawn it, and her mind, accustomed to exactitude, could not reconcile the discrepancy. Frustration welled up, and she sat down, dropping her heavy satchel, its contents spilling across the mossy ground. Her gaze fell upon a single, smooth grey stone, perfectly round and utterly unadorned. It was not on any of her maps. Yet, its simple, grounded presence offered a profound stillness, a silent invitation to simply be, to observe, and to trust the immediate surroundings without the need for exhaustive documentation. In that moment of radical acceptance, Anya realized that the true purpose of a map was not to replicate reality in its entirety, but to provide essential guidance, to highlight the most reliable paths, and to allow for a sense of direction without overwhelming the traveler. Her maps, in their pursuit of ultimate detail, had lost their core function. She began to understand that her constant need to map every detail was a form of non-attachment to the present moment, a a subtle attempt to control the unpredictable flow of existence. With a deep, conscious breath, she began to rethink her approach, not just to cartography, but to her own mental landscape, embracing the wisdom of discerning the essential. Anya's transformation was gradual but profound. She began to create new maps, not with less care, but with a different kind of intention. She focused on the significant landmarks, the reliable paths, the essential contours of the land. She learned to leave spaciousness on the page, acknowledging that some details were best discovered through direct experience, through the full presence of walking the path itself. This practice of less is more in her craft seeped into her mind. She found that by letting go of the need to mentally map every potential future, she gained a greater sense of inner freedom and a deeper connection to the present moment, a true sense of nirvana, of cessation of craving. Anya's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of karma, not as fate, but as the consequence of our actions and intentions. Her intention to control every detail led to confusion and burden. By shifting her intention to discerning the essential, she created a different karma, one of clarity and ease. This is the essence of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right understanding that some details are superfluous, and right effort in cultivating a spacious mind. The practice of vipassana, observing awareness, allows us to identify when our minds are generating unnecessary details, and then gently, with self-compassion, to release them, fostering a groundedness in the immediate experience of being. The Venerable Pema Chodron often speaks of leaning into the discomfort and realizing that our attempts to control everything often lead to greater suffering. Anya's discomfort arose from her need for absolute control through mapping. By letting go, by embracing a form of mushin, or no mind, in her approach, she found liberation. This is not about being careless, but about cultivating a deep trust in the natural flow wu-wei of life and in our innate capacity to navigate it with an unburdened awareness. It is an act of radical acceptance, knowing that we already possess the wisdom, prajna, to find our way, even without an exhaustive, overly detailed mental map, allowing for contentment. Consider your own mental cartography. Are you constantly trying to map out every single detail of your future, every potential problem, every possible outcome? Do you find yourself burdened by the sheer volume of these mental projections, losing sight of the simple, essential path before you? There is no need for judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to release one small, unnecessary detail from your mental map today, allowing for a bit more spaciousness, a bit more inner freedom. This practice of letting go, of cultivating a beginner's mind, allows you to walk through life with a lighter step, trusting in your inherent wisdom and the sufficiency of the present moment. As Anya learned to simplify her maps, focusing on the essential rather than the exhaustive, her mind too found a spaciousness that allowed for greater clarity and a profound stillness. This discerning approach to information, both external and internal, revealed that true guidance often emerges from a place of elegant simplicity, unburdened by the clamor of the non-essential. We will now turn our attention to a musician, Ren, whose lute always sounded slightly off, not due to the instrument itself, but because he constantly adjusted its tuning pegs in fear of future dissonance, exploring how our anticipation of disharmony can prevent us from experiencing the true, resonant beauty of the present moment, the musician's discordant strings. Our inner world, much like a finely crafted musical instrument, possesses the potential for exquisite harmony and profound resonance. However, the mind's incessant tendency to anticipate discord, to constantly adjust and readjust the tuning pegs of our thoughts in fear of future dissonance, often prevents us from experiencing the true, resonant beauty of the present moment. This mental habit, driven by a subtle anxiety about what might go wrong, creates a persistent, low-level disharmony, where our inner music always sounds slightly off-key. Instead of resting in the natural flow of our experience, we are perpetually striving for a hypothetical perfect pitch, losing the groundedness and spaciousness that arise from trusting the present vibration. Mental minimalism, in this sense, involves releasing the need for constant mental retuning and allowing our inner instrument to simply be. In a village nestled amidst rolling hills, where the sounds of birdsong and gentle breezes often mingled with the melodies of traditional instruments, lived Ren, a lute player of remarkable dexterity. His fingers danced across the strings with an almost ethereal grace, and his compositions were intricate and heartfelt. Yet, despite his technical brilliance, there was a subtle, almost imperceptible dissonance in his playing. His lute, a masterwork of polished wood and taut gut strings, always sounded slightly out of tune, never quite achieving the pure, resonant harmony that defined true mastery. This persistent imperfection, a source of quiet suffering, gnawed at Ren, preventing him from experiencing the full joy of his craft and leaving him with a pervasive sense of anicca, of impermanence in his own musical expression. Ren would spend countless hours, often late into the night, meticulously tuning his lute. He would pluck a string, listen intently, and then make the tiniest adjustment to the tuning peg, only to repeat the process moments later, convinced it was still not quite right. His ears, once attuned to the subtle nuances of sound, had become hypersensitive to any potential discord, constantly searching for flaws. Even in the midst of a beautiful melody, his mind would be elsewhere, anticipating the next note, worrying if it would be perfectly in tune, rather than fully inhabiting the present vibration. This relentless mental striving, this trishna for an unattainable perfection, created a tension in his body and a restlessness in his mind, preventing any deep concentration or profound stillness. His mentor, an elderly blind musician named Master Jin, whose own playing emanated a deep, effortless harmony, observed Ren's struggle with gentle compassion. Master Jin's music, though perhaps less technically complex, possessed a profound stillness, a resonance that spoke directly to the heart, free from any hint of mental striving. One day, after listening to Ren's latest composition, which, despite its beauty, still carried that faint discord, Master Jin slowly reached out and placed a hand on Ren's arm. "Ren," he said softly, his voice a low, comforting rumble. "Your lute is not out of tune. Your mind is." The words hung in the air, a simple truth that resonated deeply, cutting through Ren's years of focused frustration with the force of a revelation. Master Jin explained that Ren's relentless pursuit of perfect tuning was actually preventing his lute from settling into its natural resonance. By constantly adjusting, by anticipating discord, Ren was never allowing the strings to simply vibrate, to find their own inherent harmony within the instrument's structure. The string, Master Jin explained, knows its true pitch when it is allowed to rest, not when it is constantly pulled and tightened by fear of what might come next. Trust the vibration of this moment, not the imagined dissonance of the next. This teaching, a profound insight into non-striving and the natural flow of existence, began to slowly unravel Ren's deeply ingrained mental habit, inviting him into a new way of being. With Master Jin's guidance, Ren began a new practice. He would tune his lute once, carefully and with full presence, and then, for a set period, he would simply play, committing to not touching the tuning pegs again, no matter how subtly off a note might seem to his oversensitive ear. This was an act of radical acceptance, a deliberate letting go of the need for constant mental control. At first, it was agonizing. His mind screamed at him to adjust, to fix, to perfect. But with each passing day, as he committed to this practice of non-attachment, a subtle shift began to occur. He started to hear the music not as a series of individual, potentially flawed notes, but as a holistic, flowing experience, a harmonious whole. As Ren persisted, his playing transformed. The subtle discord began to fade, replaced by a deep, rich resonance that emanated not just from the lute, but from within Ren himself. He discovered that true harmony was not about the absence of all potential imperfection, but about a profound stillness, a groundedness in the present moment's vibration, allowing the music to simply be. His concentration, his samadhi, deepened, and he found a sense of inner freedom he had never known. The fear of dissonance had been replaced by a quiet trust, a metta in the inherent wisdom of his instrument and his own capacity to create without constant mental interference. His music began to touch the hearts of his listeners in a new and powerful way. Ren's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of dharma, the path to liberation from suffering. His suffering came from his constant mental retuning, his craving for a hypothetical perfection. By letting go of this trishna, he found nirvana, a cessation of his inner discord. This is the essence of mindfulness sati, allowing ourselves to observe our inner experience without judgment, without the need to constantly manipulate or control it. When we rest in this equanimous observation, we tap into our Buddha mind, our original nature, which is already perfectly tuned, already harmonious. The practice of anapanasati, conscious breathing, can help us return to this natural rhythm, fostering inner peace and contentment. Jack Cornfield, a renowned meditation teacher, often emphasizes that the things that get in the way are the way. Ren's constant adjustments, which he thought were helping, were actually the obstacle. By allowing the imperfection to simply be, he found a deeper perfection. This is the wisdom, prajna, of non-striving, recognizing that profound stillness often arises when we release our grip on how things should be. It is an act of self-compassion, accepting our experience as it is, without the need for constant mental tweaking. This allows for a spaciousness, a groundedness, where true inner freedom can flourish, leading to a deeper sense of sufficiency. Consider the strings of your own inner instrument. Are you constantly adjusting your thoughts, replaying conversations, or anticipating future challenges, always trying to tune them to a hypothetical perfection? Do these mental adjustments create a subtle, persistent discord within you, preventing you from fully experiencing the present moment's unique vibration? There is no need for self-criticism, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose one small area of your life where you can simply allow things to be, trusting in the natural flow and releasing the need for constant mental interference. This practice of letting go, of cultivating a beginner's mind, invites a profound stillness and a deeper, more authentic harmony into your being. As Ren allowed his lute to simply resonate, free from the incessant mental adjustments, its melodies became imbued with a profound stillness and an effortless harmony that touched the hearts of all who listened. This wisdom of trusting the present vibration and releasing the fear of future dissonance is a powerful lesson in cultivating a mind of purpose. We will now explore a similar principle through the eyes of Master Hiroki, a wise gardener whose once thriving garden was choked by persistent, uninvited growth, revealing the constant need to tend our mental garden, gently uprooting what does not serve our growth before it takes deep hold, fostering a space of nourishment and clarity. The gardener's invasive weeds. Our minds, much like a meticulously cultivated garden, require constant attention and discerning care. If left untended, even the most fertile ground can quickly become overrun by invasive weeds. Persistent, uninvited thoughts, worries, and anxieties that choke out the purposeful growth we wish to cultivate. These mental weeds, often subtle at first, draw nourishment from our attention, depleting our energy and obscuring the vibrant blossoms of contentment, wisdom, and inner peace. The practice of mental minimalism, in this sense, is akin to diligent gardening, a continuous process of awareness, gently identifying and uprooting what does not serve our well-being before it takes deep hold, ensuring that our inner landscape remains a space of intentional nourishment and spacious clarity. In a serene valley, famed for its meticulously designed Zen gardens, lived old Master Hiroki, a gardener whose hands, gnarled with age, possessed an almost magical ability to coax beauty from the earth. His personal garden, a haven of perfectly placed stones, raked gravel patterns, and carefully pruned bonsai, was a testament to decades of unwavering dedication and profound stillness. The air in his garden was always crisp with the scent of pine needles and damp earth, a sanctuary where the rustle of leaves was the loudest sound. However, in recent years, a subtle weariness had begun to settle upon Master Hiroki, and a new kind of struggle emerged in his once pristine sanctuary. Master Hiroki noticed the insidious creep of invasive weeds. At first, they were small, barely noticeable sprouts, easily overlooked amidst the vibrant moss and carefully arranged pebbles. He would dismiss them, thinking he would tend to them later, or that they were too insignificant to warrant immediate attention. But these weeds, tenacious and opportunistic, grew quickly. Their tendrils snaked across the raked gravel, their roots burrowed deep into the soil, slowly choking the delicate bonsai and obscuring the precise patterns. The once clear lines of his garden became blurred, its spaciousness invaded by a persistent, unwanted presence. The subtle suffering this caused was not in the weeds themselves, but in his growing inability to maintain the clarity he so cherished. The task of weeding, once a meditative practice, became a source of deep frustration for Master Hiroki. He would spend hours pulling, only to find new sprouts emerging almost immediately, as if mocking his efforts. His mind, once a tranquil reflection of his garden's order, now felt as overrun and chaotic as the overgrown patches. He found himself constantly anticipating the next weed, worrying about its return, rather than simply enjoying the beauty of the plants he had so carefully cultivated. This trishna, this craving for a perfectly weed-free garden, became a source of mental burden, preventing him from experiencing full presence and the inherent wisdom that arose from his daily communion with nature. One morning, as a persistent bindweed threatened to strangle a prized miniature maple, Master Hiroki paused, his old hands trembling slightly. He looked at the tangled mess, feeling a familiar wave of despair. Then, his gaze lifted to a distant, untouched section of his garden, a small patch of moss he had tended daily for decades. It was utterly free of weeds, not because they never appeared there, but because he addressed them immediately as soon as he saw the tiniest sprout. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within him. The weeds were not the problem. His delayed attention, his lack of sustained, intentional awareness was. With this newfound clarity, Master Hiroki began to approach his garden with a different kind of discipline. He no longer waited for the weeds to become established, to take deep hold. Instead, he cultivated a heightened sense of observing awareness, a constant vigilance, not born of anxiety, but of deep reverence for his garden's well-being. Each morning, during his sacred pauses, he would walk slowly, his eyes scanning the ground not for problems, but for opportunities to maintain purity. The moment he spotted a tiny sprout, he would gently, immediately, uproot it, before its roots could entwine with the desired plants. This act, performed with full presence, became a meditative dance of continuous care. As Master Hiroki adopted this new practice, his garden slowly began to reclaim its pristine order and spaciousness. The delicate bonsai thrived, the gravel patterns became sharp and clear once more, and the air felt light and pure. He found that by addressing the weeds of his garden immediately, the task became less burdensome, less overwhelming. This external transformation mirrored a deep internal shift. His mind too became clearer, less cluttered by persistent worries. He discovered a profound stillness in the act of continuous, gentle weeding, a sense of inner freedom that arose from maintaining his mental landscape with meticulous, compassionate attention. His ethical practice, Sila, of tending to his inner and outer worlds brought him great contentment. Master Hiroki's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of anicca, impermanence, in the constant arising of thoughts and concerns, and the need for continuous gentle maintenance. His suffering, his dukkha, arose from allowing these mental weeds to become deeply rooted. By cultivating full presence and immediately addressing what did not serve his growth, he found nirvana, a cessation of this mental burden. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing that our inner peace is not a static state, but an ongoing practice of discerning what to cultivate and what to release. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right effort in tending our minds, ensuring they remain fertile ground for wisdom, prajna, and self-compassion. Thich Nhat Hanh often spoke of the importance of mindful gardening, not just in a physical sense, but in cultivating our inner garden. He taught that when you plant lettuce, if it does not grow well, you don't blame the lettuce. You look for reasons it is not doing well. It may need fertilizer or more water or less sun. You never blame the lettuce. Similarly, when worries arise, we do not blame ourselves. We observe them with equanimous observation, understanding their conditions, and then, with metta, gentle kindness, we release what does not nourish our spirit, allowing our Buddha mind, our original nature, to flourish in spaciousness. Consider your own mental garden. What are the invasive weeds that might be subtly choking out your inner peace and clarity? Are there recurring worries, persistent anxieties, or unhelpful thought patterns that you've allowed to take root, thinking you'll deal with them later? There is no need for judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe these growths with a discerning awareness. Perhaps you can commit to a practice of daily weeding, gently addressing one small, uninvited thought or concern as soon as it arises, before it becomes deeply entrenched. This intentional practice, rooted in self-knowledge and self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, allowing your inner landscape to thrive. As Master Hiroki diligently tended his garden, gently uprooting what did not belong, his space became a vibrant testament to intentional cultivation and profound stillness, a haven of clarity and peace. This wisdom of knowing when enough is enough and understanding the spaciousness required for true transformation is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Alara, a baker whose renowned bread often failed when she tried to bake too many loaves at once, crowding the oven, revealing how our tendency to take on too much, to overfill our mental capacity, can diminish the quality of our experience and prevent the deep, nourishing transformation we seek. The baker's overfilled oven. In our modern lives, there is a pervasive tendency to constantly take on more, to fill every available moment and every mental corner with tasks, worries, and aspirations. This relentless accumulation, driven by a subtle trishna or craving for productivity or a fear of missing out, often leads to an overfilled oven of the mind. When we cram too many concerns, too many plans, or too many unresolved thoughts into our mental capacity, the quality of our inner experience inevitably diminishes. The profound stillness, the spaciousness required for genuine transformation, and the deep, nourishing contentment that arises from a balanced mind are all compromised. Mental minimalism, in this sense, is the art of knowing when enough is enough, understanding that true richness often emerges from embracing limits and allowing for ample room to simply be. In a bustling town, renowned for its aromatic bakeries, where the sweet scent of yeast and warm flour perpetually hung in the air, lived Alara, a baker whose artisanal bread was legendary. Her sourdough loaves, with their perfectly crisp crusts and airy, chewy interiors, were coveted throughout the region, a testament to her meticulous skill and the profound stillness with which she approached her craft. The warmth of her brick oven, the rhythmic kneading of dough, and the gentle bubbling of her sourdough starter were the comforting rhythms of her days, imbued with a sense of sufficiency. She understood the delicate balance of ingredients, the precise timing, and the quiet patience required for true culinary artistry. Yet, as Alara's reputation grew, so did the demands on her time and her oven. Customers clamored for more loaves, merchants urged her to expand, and her own ambition whispered promises of even greater success. Gradually, Alara began to push her limits. She started loading her large traditional brick oven with more and more loaves, trying to maximize each firing. Instead of baking a manageable dozen, she would cram in 20, then 30, believing that sheer volume would equate to greater achievement. The once spacious interior of the oven, designed for optimal airflow and even heat distribution, became a cramped, suffocating space for her precious dough. The results were disheartening. The bread, once her pride and joy, began to suffer. The loaves emerged from the oven unevenly baked. Some were scorched on the outside but raw in the center. Others were pale and dense, lacking the signature rise and texture. The subtle suffering this caused was not just in the wasted ingredients, but in the erosion of her own inner peace and the joy she once found in her craft. She felt a constant, low-level anxiety, a sense of anika as her quality diminished, and her mind became as crowded and overheated as her oven, filled with worries about meeting demand and maintaining her reputation. The sweet scent of success had turned bitter with the taste of overwhelm. One humid morning, after yet another batch of imperfect loaves emerged from her overfilled oven, Alara sat amidst the cooled, disappointing bread, her head in her hands. She felt exhausted, her spirit as deflated as the sunken centers of her loaves. She looked into the vast, now empty cavern of her oven, remembering a time when it had held fewer loaves, but each had emerged a masterpiece. Her gaze fell upon a single, perfectly formed, unbaked loaf of dough, resting on a floured board, waiting its turn. Its serene, plump presence seemed to radiate a quiet strength, a profound stillness, a testament to the spaciousness it required to truly transform. In that moment of deep reflection, a clear truth dawned upon her. Alara realized that her problem was not a lack of skill or ingredients, but a lack of space, both in her oven and in her mind. She had been pushing against the natural limits, driven by a craving for more, believing that quantity would bring greater fulfillment. She understood that true quality, true transformation, required room to breathe, to expand, to be. With a deep, conscious breath, she made a deliberate choice to return to her original practice of intentionality. She would bake fewer loaves per batch, ensuring that each one had ample space to rise, to brown evenly, and to fully develop its rich flavor and texture. This was an act of radical acceptance, embracing sufficiency over excess. As Alara recommitted to this principle of spaciousness, both in her oven and in her daily life, a remarkable change occurred. Her bread regained its legendary quality, each loaf a perfect expression of her craft, its crust golden, its interior tender and aromatic. The joy returned to her work, replaced the anxiety, and she found a deep sense of contentment in the rhythmic, unhurried pace of her baking. Her mind, too, became less crowded, less overheated. She discovered a profound stillness in the act of allowing things to unfold naturally, recognizing that true abundance was not about having more, but about appreciating the inherent richness of what was already present, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom. Alara's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of nirodha, the cessation of suffering through the understanding and release of craving. Her suffering, her dukkha, stemmed from her trishna for greater output. By embracing the wisdom of knowing when enough is enough, she found nirvana, a state of profound stillness and contentment. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing our own limits with self-compassion and cultivating an equanimous observation of our tendencies to overfill our mental oven. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right effort in discerning what truly serves our well-being and to cultivate a groundedness in the present moment, allowing for the spaciousness necessary for deep transformation. The revered Zen master Dogen Zenji, in his teachings, often emphasized the importance of right activity and doing one thing at a time with full presence. Alara, by trying to do too much at once, diminished the quality of her activity and her experience. By returning to a focused, spacious approach, she embodied the principle of mushin, or no mind, where her actions flowed effortlessly from a place of clear intention, free from the burden of overthinking. This is the path to inner freedom, recognizing that true abundance is found not in accumulation, but in the quality and presence we bring to each moment, allowing our Buddha mind, our original nature, to express itself with profound stillness. Consider your own mental oven. Are you constantly trying to cram too many worries, too many tasks, or too many unresolved thoughts into your limited mental capacity? Do you find that this overfilling diminishes the quality of your experience, leaving you feeling unevenly baked, perhaps burnt out or raw with unaddressed issues? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to remove 1 or 2 loaves from your mental oven today, allowing for more spaciousness, more room to breathe, and more capacity for genuine transformation. This intentional practice, rooted in self-knowledge and self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Alara embraced the wisdom of sufficiency, allowing ample space for each loaf to transform, her bread became a true work of art, and her spirit found a profound stillness in the rhythm of her craft. This understanding, that true elegance and precision, often emerge from the deliberate removal of the non-essential, is a powerful lesson in mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Silas, a meticulous clockmaker who once built a clock with countless extra gears, believing more complexity meant greater precision, only to discover that profound stillness and accurate measurement arise from elegant simplicity, from stripping away all that does not serve the core function, leading to a deeper sense of inner freedom, the clockmaker's unnecessary gears. Our minds possess an extraordinary capacity for intricate thought, for constructing complex frameworks of understanding and projection. Yet, this very capacity, when unexamined, can lead us to believe that more complexity equates to greater precision, more interlocking thoughts to deeper insight. We often burden ourselves with countless unnecessary gears in our mental machinery, redundant worries, hypothetical scenarios that never materialize, and elaborate justifications for simple truths. These superfluous components, far from enhancing our mental function, actually create friction, drain energy, and obscure the elegant simplicity of our core awareness. Mental minimalism in this context is the art of stripping away the non-essential, of recognizing that profound stillness and accurate perception arise from an elegant, uncluttered mechanism, revealing our original nature. In a quiet corner of a thriving industrial town, where the rhythmic hum of machinery was a constant backdrop, lived Silas, a clockmaker of exceptional talent and meticulous dedication. His workshop was a symphony of ticking and whirring, filled with delicate tools, gleaming brass components, and the faint, nostalgic scent of oil and aged wood. Silas was renowned for the incredible precision of his timepieces, each a tiny universe of perfectly balanced gears and springs. He believed that the more intricate the mechanism, the more gears it possessed, the more accurate and reliable the clock would be, a testament to his own ingenious craftsmanship and his constant striving for perfection. Driven by this belief, Silas embarked on his most ambitious project, a grand clock designed to measure time with unprecedented accuracy, down to the smallest fraction of a second. He spent years designing and crafting countless extra gears, levers, and springs, adding them to the already complex mechanism. He reasoned that each additional component would somehow refine the measurement, eliminate tiny errors, and create a system of ultimate precision. The clock's internal workings became an astonishing, bewildering labyrinth of interlocking parts, its metallic heart a dense, shimmering forest of brass and steel. The air in his workshop, once clear, now felt thick with the silent weight of his intricate creation, a pervasive sense of anicca, of impermanence in his own mental constructs. However, despite its breathtaking complexity, the grand clock was plagued by subtle, persistent inaccuracies. It would gain a minute here, lose a few seconds there, never quite achieving the perfect, unwavering rhythm Silas had envisioned. The sheer number of moving parts created unforeseen friction, tiny resistances that subtly disrupted the flow. The effort required to maintain and adjust such a complex mechanism was immense, draining Silas of his energy and his once joyful enthusiasm. His mind, too, became an echo of his creation, filled with countless interlocking worries about the clock's performance, about the myriad of minute adjustments needed, preventing any deep concentration or profound stillness. This Trishna for absolute control over time was leading to a deep sense of suffering. One quiet evening, as Silas sat contemplating his magnificent yet flawed creation, his gaze fell upon a small, simple pocket watch he had crafted years ago for his own use. It had only the essential gears, a straightforward, elegant mechanism, and yet it kept perfect time, its soft ticking a comforting, unwavering presence. He picked it up, feeling its familiar weight, and in that moment of profound stillness, a truth, clear and undeniable, resonated within him. The grand clock's problem was not a lack of gears, but an excess of them. The unnecessary complexity was the very source of its inaccuracy, its lack of inner freedom, its inability to maintain a consistent, grounded rhythm. Silas realized that his relentless pursuit of complexity had obscured the fundamental principle of timekeeping: elegant simplicity. He had been adding more and more, driven by a subtle craving for control, believing that more components would bring greater mastery. He understood that true precision, true profound stillness, arose not from accumulation, but from the judicious removal of all that did not serve the core function. With a deep, conscious breath, he made a deliberate choice to simplify. He began the painstaking process of dismantling his grand clock, carefully removing every gear, every lever, every spring that was not absolutely essential to its fundamental operation, embracing the wisdom of sufficiency. As Silas systematically stripped away the non-essential components, the clock's internal mechanism slowly transformed. The bewildering labyrinth gave way to a cleaner, more elegant design, where each remaining gear moved with a fluid, unimpeded grace. The friction diminished, the energy drain ceased, and the clock began to tick with a quiet, unwavering precision he had only dreamed of. This external transformation mirrored a deep internal shift within Silas. His mind too became clearer, less burdened by unnecessary worries and hypothetical complexities. He discovered a profound stillness in the act of subtraction, a sense of inner freedom that arose from trusting the power of simplicity, recognizing his own original nature. Silas's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as a spaciousness that allows true function and clarity to emerge. His suffering, his dukkha, stemmed from his trishna for complexity, his belief that more was always better. By embracing the elegance of simplicity, he found nirvana, a cessation of his mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing when our minds are generating unnecessary complexities and gently, with self-compassion, letting them go. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right understanding that true wisdom, prajna, often lies in the unadorned, the essential, fostering a deep sense of contentment and groundedness. The philosopher Alan Watts, with his characteristic playfulness, often remarked that the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Silas, by clinging to his complex, fixed idea of perfection, resisted the natural flow. By stripping away the unnecessary, he allowed the clock to move with a more authentic rhythm, a true wu wei. This is an act of radical acceptance, recognizing that true mastery often comes from knowing what to leave out, what to release, allowing our Buddha mind, our original nature, to express itself with profound stillness and effortless grace. Consider the gears of your own mental clock. Are you constantly adding unnecessary complexities, redundant worries, or elaborate justifications to your thoughts, believing that more mental activity will lead to greater precision or control? Do these superfluous components create friction and drain your energy, preventing you from experiencing a clear, unwavering inner rhythm? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to identify one unnecessary gear in your mental machinery today, one persistent worry or overthought scenario, and gently release it, allowing for a bit more spaciousness, a bit more inner freedom. This intentional practice, rooted in self-knowledge and self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Silas stripped away the unnecessary gears, his clock found its true, unwavering rhythm, a testament to the elegant power of simplicity and the profound stillness that emerges from a decluttered mechanism. This understanding, that the mind's constant projection into the future or past can disrupt the delicate act of conscious creation, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Lena, a glassblower whose breath wavered when her thoughts drifted, causing her delicate forms to collapse, exploring how full presence and the delicate act of conscious breathing can shape beauty from emptiness, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The glassblower's breath. The act of conscious creation, whether in art or in life, demands an exquisite degree of full presence, a delicate balance of intention and surrender. Our minds, however, often resist this single-pointed focus, perpetually drifting into the sprawling landscapes of past regrets or the uncertain terrains of future anxieties. This constant mental projection, this subtle trishna for being anywhere but here, disrupts the delicate rhythm of the present moment, much like a glassblower whose breath falters when their thoughts wander. The beautiful forms we aspire to create, whether tangible or experiential, collapse under the weight of this mental fragmentation, replaced by a sense of anicca, of impermanence in our own creative flow. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the cultivation of a steady, conscious breath, a groundedness in the now that allows beauty to emerge from emptiness, fostering profound stillness. In a coastal village where the sea breeze carried the faint chime of glass, lived Lena, a glassblower whose work was renowned for its ethereal delicacy and luminous beauty. Her workshop, warmed by the fierce glow of her furnace, was a place of mesmerizing transformation, where molten glass, shimmering like liquid light, was coaxed into fragile, exquisite forms. Lena's artistry required an almost superhuman level of concentration, a seamless integration of breath, intention, and physical dexterity. The quality of her work depended entirely on the steadiness of her breath, a continuous, unwavering exhalation that shaped the glowing orb of glass, allowing it to expand and stretch into intricate designs, a true dance of full presence. Yet Lena often found herself battling an internal adversary, her own wandering mind. While she would begin a piece with focused intention, her thoughts would inevitably drift. A memory of a past mistake, a worry about a future commission, a fleeting concern about a minor imperfection in the glass she was working with, would intrude. The moment her mind diverged, even for a fraction of a second, her breath would subtly falter, a tiny catch or an unconscious gasp. In that instant, the delicate balance of the molten glass would be lost. A beautiful vase would collapse inward, a graceful swan would droop into an unrecognizable blob, or a shimmering orb would shatter into 1,000 sharp fragments, a source of deep suffering. Lena experienced a pervasive sense of frustration, a subtle dukkha, as she continually witnessed her creations fail due to her own mental fragmentation. She would spend hours preparing the glass, heating it to the perfect temperature, only to have it collapse under the weight of her wandering thoughts. The heat of the furnace, once a comforting presence, now felt like a relentless judge, exposing her lack of inner discipline. She longed for the profound stillness that her master, an old, quiet woman, possessed, whose creations, though simple, radiated an unwavering integrity. Lena's craving for perfection, coupled with her inability to maintain a single pointed focus, created a constant internal tension, preventing her from true inner freedom. One sweltering afternoon, after a particularly intricate piece collapsed, Lena, heartbroken, sat on a cool stone bench, watching the molten glass cool and harden into a useless lump. Her master approached, her eyes, ancient and wise, reflecting a deep compassion. "Lena," she said softly, "the glass does not break because of your hands. It breaks because of your mind. Your breath is the bridge between your inner world and your creation. When your mind drifts, the bridge trembles." The words resonated deeply, cutting through Lena's frustration with the clarity of a bell. The master then guided Lena to place her hand on her own belly, instructing her to simply feel the rise and fall of her breath without judgment for a full hour. Lena began a new practice. Before each session at the furnace, she would spend time simply observing her breath, allowing it to become long, slow, and steady. She focused on the sensation of each inhalation and exhalation, making it an anchor for her full presence. When she approached the molten glass, she carried this conscious breathing with her, making each exhalation a deliberate, continuous stream of air, shaping the glass not just with her lungs, but with her entire being, her entire awareness. When a thought arose, as it inevitably did, she would gently acknowledge it, and then, without judgment or attachment, return her attention to the rhythm of her breath, an act of radical acceptance. As Lena persisted in this practice of anapanasati, conscious breathing, her glass blowing transformed. Her movements became fluid and effortless, her concentration, her samadhi, unwavering. The delicate forms she created now held their integrity, expanding with a luminous grace that seemed to defy their fragile nature. The collapses became fewer, replaced by a growing sense of mastery and inner peace. She discovered that by cultivating a steady, groundedness in her breath, she also cultivated a profound stillness within her mind. The creative act became a seamless integration of her inner and outer worlds, a true expression of her Buddha mind, her original nature, shaping beauty from the very emptiness of the air. Lena's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as a spaciousness that allows for creation and clarity to emerge. Her suffering, her dukkha, stemmed from her trishna, her craving for a perfect outcome while lacking full presence. By embracing conscious breathing and the practice of letting go of wandering thoughts, she found nirvana, a cessation of her mental fragmentation and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing that our full presence is the most powerful tool for shaping our experience. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right concentration, cultivating a single-pointed focus that allows for effortless action and deep contentment. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh frequently taught, "Breath is the bridge which connects life to consciousness, which unites your body to your thoughts. Whenever your mind becomes scattered, use your breath to re-establish your footing. Lena's experience perfectly embodies this wisdom. Her breath became her anchor, her path to equanimous observation, allowing her to release the non-attachment of her wandering mind and return to a state of groundedness. This is an act of self-compassion, recognizing that our inner freedom is not about controlling thoughts, but about choosing where to place our attention, cultivating a deep sense of sufficiency and inner peace through the simple act of conscious breathing. Consider the breadth of your own attention. Are your thoughts constantly drifting into the past or future, causing your present moment's creations, whether in work, relationships, or simply being, to subtly collapse or lose their integrity? Do you find yourself striving for outcomes while lacking full presence in the process? There is no need for self-criticism, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to bring a more conscious awareness to your breath throughout your day, using it as an anchor to return to the present moment, allowing for a deeper concentration and a more profound stillness. This intentional practice, rooted in self-knowledge, cultivates inner freedom and the capacity to shape beauty from the raw material of your existence. As Lena's breath became an unwavering anchor, her glass creations flowed with an ethereal grace, each piece a testament to the profound stillness that emerged from her full presence. This discerning approach to creation, understanding that true artistry arises from a clear and unburdened mind, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Kyle, a miner who spent days sifting through vast quantities of gravel and dirt, seeking tiny flecks of gold, exploring how our minds can learn to discern true value from the overwhelming debris of daily thoughts, recognizing that true richness lies in the rare and essential, fostering a deep sense of contentment and inner freedom, the miner's sifting pan. Our minds are constantly bombarded by a torrent of information, a vast stream of thoughts, sensations, and external stimuli, much like a miner's streambed filled with countless pebbles, sand, and debris. In this ceaseless flow, there is often a subtle trishna, or craving, to grasp at every passing thought, to analyze every fragment of information, believing that true value lies in the sheer volume of what we encounter. However, true wisdom, true inner peace, and genuine contentment arise not from accumulating more, but from the discerning practice of sifting, of identifying what truly matters amidst the overwhelming mental noise. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the cultivation of equanimous observation, a patient and steady awareness that allows us to distinguish the precious few flecks of gold from the vast quantities of mental gravel, embracing the profound stillness of sufficiency. In a remote, sun-baked canyon, where a narrow, winding river carved its path through ancient rock, lived Kale, a solitary miner whose days were spent bent over his sifting pan. The glint of mica in the sunlight, the murmur of the flowing water, and the rhythmic swish of his pan were the constant companions of his arduous work. He was searching for gold, not in large nuggets, but in tiny, almost invisible flecks, scattered amidst the endless gravel and sand. Kyle understood that true prospecting was a test of patience, a discipline of discerning observation, and a profound stillness, knowing that the vast majority of what he sifted through would be of no intrinsic value. Each day, Kale would fill his large, shallow pan with a scoop of wet gravel from the riverbed. He would then submerge it, gently swirling and shaking, allowing the heavier gold particles to settle to the bottom, while the lighter sand and pebbles washed away. This was a slow, repetitive process, demanding his full presence and unwavering focus. Yet, in his early days, Kyle often struggled with a subtle impatience, a trishna for quick results. He would rush the sifting, convinced that if he just moved faster, he would find more. In his haste, he often overlooked the tiny flecks, or allowed them to be washed away with the debris, leading to a pervasive sense of anicca, of impermanence in his own efforts and a deep sense of suffering. Kyle's frustration stemmed from his attachment to the sheer volume of material. He believed that the more gravel he processed, the greater his chances of striking it rich. He would work himself to exhaustion, his back aching, his hands raw, only to find meager returns. His mind, too, became as cluttered and agitated as the swirling water in his pan, filled with worries about his lack of success, regrets about past mistakes, and anxieties about the future. He longed for the profound stillness he observed in the seasoned, older miners, whose calm, deliberate movements seemed to yield more consistent results, as if they possessed a secret wisdom. One scorching afternoon, after yet another fruitless session, Kyle sat by the riverbank, defeated. He watched an old, weathered crow meticulously picking through a pile of discarded river stones, searching for a single, iridescent beetle. The crow's movements were slow, deliberate, utterly without haste or agitation. It did not try to pick up every stone. It simply observed, discerned, and then with precise intention, selected what it needed. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within Kyle. The crow was not seeking quantity, but quality. Its discernment, its focus on the essential, was the key. He realized his own mind was trying to grasp at every pebble, every thought, rather than discerning the true gold. With this newfound clarity, Kyle began a new practice. He approached his sifting pan not with haste, but with a deep, conscious breath and a renewed sense of intentionality. He slowed his movements, allowing his full presence to imbue each swirl and shake. He cultivated an equanimous observation, watching the sand and pebbles wash away without attachment, without judgment, trusting that the gold, being heavier, would reveal itself. He understood that the vast majority of what passed through his awareness was simply debris, and that his task was not to hold on to it, but to gently let it go, creating spaciousness for the true treasures to appear. This was an act of radical acceptance. As Kyle persisted in this mindful practice, his success as a miner slowly, steadily grew. He found more gold, not because he worked faster, but because he worked with greater discernment, greater concentration, his samadhi, and a profound stillness. His mind, too, became clearer, less agitated, and more capable of distinguishing valuable insights from the overwhelming noise of daily thoughts. He discovered a deep sense of contentment, a metta, in the rhythmic, unhurried pace of his work, recognizing that true richness was not about accumulating everything, but about appreciating the inherent value of the essential, fostering inner freedom. Kyle's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of anatta, non-self, in the sense that our thoughts are not inherently us to be grasped, but rather transient phenomena to be observed and, if not essential, released. His suffering, his dukkha, stemmed from his trishna, his craving to hold on to every piece of information in his pan. By cultivating discerning awareness and letting go, he found nirvana, a cessation of his mental burden. This is the essence of vipassana, insight meditation, observing the constant stream of mental content and recognizing its impermanent nature. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right mindfulness, developing the capacity to sift through our thoughts with wisdom, prajna, and self-compassion, leading to a profound stillness. The Buddha himself taught that, just as a goldsmith, by heating, cutting, and rubbing, tests his gold, so too must you test my words. Kale's sifting process is a perfect metaphor for this testing, this discerning wisdom. He did not accept every piece of gravel as gold. He subjected it to a process of careful observation and release. This is the path to inner freedom, recognizing that our minds, when uncluttered by unnecessary debris, become powerful instruments for perceiving truth and cultivating contentment. It is an act of self-knowledge, understanding what truly nourishes our spirit and what merely adds to our mental burden, fostering a deep sense of sufficiency. Consider the sifting pan of your own mind. What are the vast quantities of mental gravel and sand that you are constantly processing? Trivial worries, fleeting judgments, or endless streams of information that hold little true value? Do you find yourself grasping at every piece, believing it might be important, only to feel overwhelmed and exhausted? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to approach your thoughts with a more discerning awareness today, gently sifting through them, allowing the non-essential to wash away, and recognizing the rare, precious flecks of gold that truly nourish your spirit. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Kyle learned to sift with greater discernment, allowing the vast majority of debris to wash away, he found true richness in the rare and essential, and his mind achieved a profound stillness. This wisdom of releasing the burden of future constructs, the anxieties of what might be, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Master Renzo, an architect who meticulously drew countless plans for buildings that would never be constructed, carrying their weight in his mind, exploring how true creation begins with the present moment and the spaciousness of non-striving, allowing what needs to emerge to do so naturally, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The architect's unbuilt plans. Our minds possess an extraordinary capacity for imagination, for envisioning future possibilities, and for meticulously planning every intricate detail of what might be. While foresight can be a valuable tool, this tendency, when taken to an extreme, can become a profound burden. The weight of unbuilt plans. We construct elaborate mental blueprints for scenarios that may never materialize, dwelling in a realm of hypotheticals and anxieties about what lies ahead. This constant projection into the future, a subtle trishna for control over the unknown, drains our energy and prevents us from fully inhabiting the present moment. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the practice of releasing the burden of these future constructs, cultivating a spaciousness of non-striving, and trusting that true creation begins and unfolds from the profound stillness of the now. In a thriving metropolis, where towering structures of glass and steel pierced the sky, lived Master Renzo, an architect renowned for his visionary designs and the meticulous detail of his blueprints. His studio, a vast, airy space filled with drafting tables and countless rolls of parchment, hummed with the quiet energy of creation. Renzo, however, had a peculiar habit. He meticulously drew countless plans for buildings that would never be constructed. They were elaborate, breathtaking designs for hypothetical cityscapes, fantastical bridges, and impossible towers, each one rendered with the same precision and passion as his commissioned projects. He believed that by envisioning every possibility, he was somehow preparing for every eventuality, a kind of mental insurance against the unpredictable future. Yet, these unbuilt plans, though beautiful on paper, began to exert a heavy toll on Master Renzo. His studio became a labyrinth of rolled-up blueprints, stacked in towering piles, each representing a dream unfulfilled, a possibility unexplored, a future that remained purely theoretical. The sheer volume of these hypothetical constructs weighed upon him, creating a pervasive sense of anicca, of impermanence in his own creative output. He felt a constant low-level anxiety, a subtle suffering, as his mind wrestled with the immense potential of these unbuilt structures, lamenting their lack of physical manifestation. His energy was perpetually divided between the demands of the present and the endless possibilities of his imagined futures, preventing true full presence. Master Renzo's sleep became restless, his dreams filled with collapsing towers and crumbling foundations of buildings that existed only in his mind. He found himself constantly comparing the tangible reality of his current projects to the boundless perfection of his unbuilt designs, always finding the present lacking. This Trishna, this craving for an ideal, controlled future, became a source of deep mental burden, preventing him from experiencing the profound stillness and contentment that arose from simply being. He carried the weight of countless imaginary structures, each one a testament to his creative genius, yet also a symbol of his inability to fully inhabit and trust the unfolding of the present moment. One quiet evening, as a soft twilight settled over the city, Master Renzo stood on his balcony, looking out at the skyline he had helped to shape. His gaze fell upon a single, sturdy oak tree in a nearby park, its branches reaching confidently towards the darkening sky, utterly unconcerned with the hypothetical shapes of future leaves or the potential storms of next season. It simply was, growing with an effortless grace, rooted firmly in the present earth. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within him. The tree did not carry the burden of its unbuilt potential. It simply manifested what was in the present moment. His own mind, he realized, was trying to carry the weight of countless unbuilt futures, leading to deep suffering. With this newfound clarity, Master Renzo began a new practice. He approached his unbuilt plans not with regret or anxiety, but with an observing awareness, a sense of self-compassion. For some, he found he could distill the essential principles, the core wisdom, and then, with a conscious act of letting go, release the elaborate details. For others, particularly those that represented purely fantastical constructs, he simply acknowledged their beauty as an exercise of imagination, but chose not to carry their weight as potential future obligations. This was an act of radical acceptance, a deliberate non-attachment to the outcomes, allowing his mind to rest in the spaciousness of non-striving, cultivating inner freedom. As Master Renzo systematically released the burden of his unbuilt plans, a remarkable transformation began to unfold within him. His studio, once cluttered with theoretical blueprints, became a space of elegant simplicity, reflecting the newfound clarity within his mind. He found that his creative energy, once dissipated across countless hypothetical futures, now flowed with greater concentration, samadhi, into his current, tangible projects. He discovered a profound stillness in the act of trusting the natural flow of creation, recognizing that true artistry emerged not from controlling every future outcome, but from fully inhabiting and responding to the present moment, fostering a deep sense of contentment and groundedness. Master Renzo's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of karma, not as fate, but as the consequence of our mental intentions. His intention to control the future through exhaustive planning led to burden and anxiety. By shifting his intention to a spaciousness of non-striving, he created a different karma, one of clarity and ease. This is the essence of mindfulness sati, recognizing when our minds are projecting into hypothetical futures and gently, with metta, returning to the present. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right understanding that true creation, true Dharma, begins in the now, and to cultivate an equanimous observation of our mental tendencies, leading to a profound stillness and inner peace. The revered Shunryu Suzuki Roshi once taught, "Each of you is perfect the way you are, and you can use a little improvement." Master Renzo was perfect in his capacity for vision, but he needed to improve his relationship with those visions. By letting go of the attachment to their manifestation, he allowed his Buddha mind, his original nature, to express itself with profound stillness. This is the wisdom, prajna, of non-attachment, recognizing that true abundance is found not in the realization of every potential, but in the spaciousness and contentment of the present moment. It is an act of self-knowledge, understanding what truly serves our well-being and what merely adds unnecessary weight. Consider the unbuilt plans in your own mind. Are you carrying the weight of countless hypothetical futures, meticulously drawn-out scenarios, or anxieties about what might happen, preventing you from fully inhabiting the present moment? Do these mental constructs drain your energy and create a pervasive sense of suffering? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to identify one unbuilt plan today, one worry about a future event, and gently release your attachment to its outcome, allowing for a bit more spaciousness, a bit more inner freedom. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Master Renzo released the burden of his unbuilt plans, his mind found a profound stillness, and his creative energy flowed with newfound clarity into the present moment, allowing true artistry to emerge effortlessly. This wisdom of letting go of past possibilities, the paths not taken, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Ilara, a shipwright who kept vast quantities of aged timber, each piece reminding her of a ship she never built, a journey she never embarked upon, exploring how true freedom comes from releasing the grip of past potential and embracing the present moment's current form, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The shipwright's unused timber. Our minds often function as vast warehouses, meticulously storing not only the memories of past events, but also the phantom echoes of what could have been. These unfulfilled possibilities, the paths not taken, and the choices we did not make, can accumulate as a heavy burden. Much like a shipwright's yard filled with unused timber, each piece a silent testament to a journey never embarked upon. This clinging to past potential, a subtle trishna for an alternate reality, drains our energy and prevents us from fully engaging with the present moment. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the practice of releasing the grip of these past possibilities, cultivating a radical acceptance of the present's current form, and finding profound stillness in the sufficiency of what is. In a bustling port town, where the salty tang of the sea mingled with the scent of pine and oak, lived Elara, a master shipwright whose hands could coax magnificent vessels from raw timber. Her shipyard, usually a place of purposeful activity, had, over the years, accumulated a vast quantity of aged timber, stacked in towering piles along the waterfront. Each seasoned beam, each plank of polished wood, was beautiful in its own right. But for Elara, these were not just materials. They were ghosts of ships she had envisioned but never built, voyages she had dreamed of but never embarked upon, opportunities that had somehow slipped through her grasp. Elara would often walk among these silent stacks of wood, her hand tracing the grain of a particularly fine piece of oak, her mind adrift in a sea of what-ifs. This timber, once vibrant with potential, now represented a pervasive sense of anicca, of impermanence in her own choices and a subtle suffering. She would imagine the majestic galleons, the swift fishing boats, or the sturdy merchant vessels that could have been, each one a testament to a path not taken. This clinging to past possibilities, this trishna for an alternate reality, created a deep sense of regret and a constant, low-level anxiety, preventing her from fully appreciating the ships she had built and the life she was actually living, denying her inner freedom. Her current projects, though successful, often felt overshadowed by the phantom weight of these unbuilt vessels. She would find herself gazing at a half-finished hull, her mind comparing it to the perfect, unblemished form of a ship that existed only in her imagination, always finding the present lacking. This constant mental comparison drained her concentration, her samadhi, and prevented her from experiencing the profound stillness and contentment that should have been hers. The scent of fresh-cut wood, once a source of joy, now carried a subtle undertone of melancholy, a constant reminder of the burden she carried, a quiet form of dukkha. One blustery afternoon, as a sudden squall swept through the harbour, threatening to dislodge a precarious stack of old timber, Elara rushed to secure it. As she wrestled with a heavy, waterlogged beam, she stumbled, and a small, perfectly carved wooden bird, a gift from her late mentor, fell from her pocket. It lay on the damp earth, simple and complete in its present form, utterly unconcerned with the tree it had once been, or the other shapes it could have taken. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within her. The bird was perfect as it was, fully embodying its present existence without clinging to its past potential. Her own mind, she realized, was trying to cling to the past potential of wood that would never be ships. With this newfound clarity, Elara began a new practice. She approached her unused timber not with regret, but with an observing awareness, a sense of self-compassion. For some pieces, she found she could repurpose them for smaller, more immediate needs, bringing them into the present. For others, particularly those that held deep emotional weight as symbols of unfulfilled dreams, she made a conscious decision to release them. She arranged for the oldest, most weathered timber to be respectfully returned to the earth, or offered to other craftsmen for different uses, acknowledging their past potential, but consciously choosing not to carry their weight as a personal burden, cultivating a deep sense of acceptance. As Elara systematically released the grip of her unused timber, a remarkable transformation began to unfold within her. Her shipyard, once a repository of past possibilities, became a space of vibrant activity and renewed purpose, reflecting the newfound clarity within her mind. She found that her creative energy, once dissipated across countless hypothetical pasts, now flowed with greater concentration, samadhi, into her current, tangible projects. She discovered a profound stillness in the act of trusting the unfolding of her life as it was, recognizing that true freedom emerged not from clinging to what could have been, but from fully inhabiting and appreciating the present moment, fostering a deep sense of contentment and groundedness. Ilara's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of anatta, non-self, in the sense that our past choices and their unfulfilled potentials are not fixed aspects of our identity to be grasped, but rather transient phenomena to be observed and released. Her suffering, her dukkha, stemmed from her trishna, her craving for an alternate past. By cultivating acceptance and letting go, she found nirvana, a cessation of her mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness sati, recognizing when our minds are dwelling on past possibilities and gently, with metta, returning to the present. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right understanding that true freedom, true dharma, is found in the sufficiency of the now, and to cultivate an equanimous observation of our mental tendencies, leading to a profound stillness and inner peace. The esteemed Zen teacher Pema Chodron often speaks of radical acceptance, embracing what is, without resistance. Ilara, by letting go of the unused timber, embraced the radical acceptance of her own life's path, finding freedom in its present form. This is the wisdom, prajna, of non-attachment, recognizing that true abundance is found not in clinging to every past possibility, but in the spaciousness and contentment of the present moment. It is an act of self-knowledge, understanding what truly nourishes our spirit and what merely adds unnecessary weight. This practice allows our Buddha mind, our original nature, to express itself with profound stillness and effortless grace. Consider the unused timber in your own mind. Are you carrying the weight of past possibilities, choices not made, or paths not taken, preventing you from fully inhabiting and appreciating the richness of your present life? Do these mental constructs drain your energy and create a pervasive sense of suffering? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to identify one unused timber today, one past regret or unfulfilled dream, and gently release your attachment to its alternate outcome, allowing for a bit more spaciousness, a bit more inner freedom. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Ilara released the grip of her unused timber, her shipyard became a space of vibrant purpose, and her mind found a profound stillness in the sufficiency of the present moment. This understanding, that true wisdom emerges from revealing truth by removing what is not essential, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Master Kenji, a sculptor who always started with massive blocks of stone, only to find the essence of his art in what he chipped away, exploring how the mind too finds its true form not by adding, but by the radical acceptance of subtraction, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The sculptor's excess stone. The path to revealing truth, both in art and in our inner lives, often lies not in adding more, but in the profound wisdom of subtraction. Our minds, however, tend to accumulate, to layer thoughts upon thoughts, beliefs upon beliefs, creating a dense edifice of mental constructs. We often believe that by adding more information, more theories, or more complex analyses, we will achieve greater understanding or a deeper sense of self. Yet, true clarity, true inner freedom, and genuine contentment often emerge when we courageously chip away the excess stone, removing what is not essential, allowing the inherent form of our original nature to reveal itself. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the radical acceptance of this subtractive process, finding profound stillness in the spaciousness that remains. In a remote mountain village, famed for its ancient stone quarries and the master artisans who worked its raw materials, lived Kenji, a sculptor whose powerful hands could transform massive blocks of granite into figures of breathtaking beauty. His studio, a cavernous space filled with the scent of pulverized stone and the rhythmic clang of hammer and chisel, was a testament to his strength and artistic vision. Kenji always began with the largest possible block of stone, believing that the more material he had, the greater the potential for his art, the more he could express his intricate visions. He envisioned his sculptures as grand additions to the world, monumental statements of form. Yet, despite his immense talent, Kenji often found himself grappling with a subtle sense of frustration, a pervasive anicca of impermanence in his own artistic process. He would spend weeks, sometimes months, chipping away at a massive block, only to feel that the essence of his vision remained elusive, buried beneath layers of superfluous stone. His studio would become filled with vast piles of discarded chips and dust, a testament to his relentless yet often directionless effort. The sheer volume of material he started with often overwhelmed him, creating a subtle suffering, a trishna for control over the raw material that was almost impossible to achieve, preventing true full presence. Kenji's mind, too, reflected this additive approach. He would fill his thoughts with countless ideas, intricate plans, and detailed analyses of every possible angle and curve, believing that more mental preparation would lead to a more perfect sculpture. But this mental accumulation often led to creative paralysis, a sense of being lost in a labyrinth of possibilities. He yearned for the profound stillness he observed in his old master, whose sculptures, though often smaller and simpler, possessed an undeniable power, a quiet presence that seemed to emerge effortlessly from the stone itself, imbued with a deep sense of sufficiency. One crisp autumn morning, as Kenji stood before a particularly stubborn block of granite, feeling the familiar weight of his own mental clutter, his gaze fell upon a small, smooth river stone he had picked up years ago. It had been shaped not by a chisel, but by the relentless, patient erosion of water and time, revealing its perfect, inherent form through a process of natural subtraction. It was utterly simple, yet profoundly beautiful. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within him. The essence of the river stone was not in what had been added, but in what had been taken away. The sculpture, he realized, was already within the stone. His task was not to create, but to reveal through the radical acceptance of subtraction. With this newfound clarity, Kenji began a new practice. He approached his stone not with the intention of adding, but with the intention of revealing. He learned to listen to the stone, to discern its inherent form, and then, with precise and intentional strokes, to chip away only what was absolutely necessary, removing all that was superfluous. This was an act of profound stillness, a deliberate non-attachment to his initial grand visions, allowing the stone's own truth to emerge. He learned to trust the process of letting go, recognizing that true beauty often lay in the elegant simplicity of what remained, cultivating an inner freedom. As Kenji embraced this subtractive approach, his sculptures transformed. They possessed a new kind of power, a quiet strength that emanated from their essential form. His studio, though still filled with the scent of stone, felt lighter, more spacious, reflecting the newfound clarity within his mind. He found that by chipping away the excess, both from the stone and from his own mental constructs, his concentration, his samadhi, deepened effortlessly. He discovered a profound stillness in the act of revealing, a sense of contentment that arose from recognizing that true mastery was not about imposing his will, but about collaborating with the inherent wisdom of the material, fostering a deep sense of groundedness. Kenji's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as a spaciousness that allows true form and clarity to emerge. His suffering, his dukkha, stemmed from his trishna, his craving to add, to impose, to accumulate. By embracing the wisdom of subtraction and the practice of letting go, he found nirvana, a cessation of his mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing when our minds are adding unnecessary layers of thought and gently, with metta, releasing them. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right understanding that true wisdom, prajna, often lies in the unadorned, the essential, allowing our Buddha mind, our original nature, to express itself with profound stillness. The revered Zen master Dogen Zenji often spoke of casting off body and mind to achieve enlightenment. Kenji, by casting off the excess stone and the excess thoughts, found his own form of enlightenment in his art. This is the wisdom of Mushin, or no mind, where actions flow effortlessly from a place of clear intention, free from the burden of overthinking. It is an act of self-knowledge, understanding that true abundance is found not in accumulation, but in the quality and presence we bring to each moment, fostering a deep sense of sufficiency. This allows for a spaciousness, a groundedness, where true inner freedom can flourish. Consider the excess stone in your own mind. What are the layers of unnecessary thoughts, beliefs, or self-judgments that you have accumulated, believing they add to your understanding or your sense of self? Do these mental additions obscure your true, inherent form, preventing you from experiencing clarity and inner freedom? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to identify one excess stone today, one persistent, unhelpful thought pattern, and gently chip it away, allowing for a bit more spaciousness, a bit more profound stillness. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a sense of sufficiency and allows your original nature to shine through. As Kenji embraced the wisdom of subtraction, his sculptures revealed their inherent beauty, and his mind found a profound stillness in the spaciousness of what remained. This understanding, that the mind's tendency to remain on high alert, even without immediate threat, can become a burden, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Lyra, a seasoned sentinel who continued to scan the horizon for dangers that had long passed, her body tense, her mind exhausted, exploring how true inner peace arises from trusting the sufficiency of the present, allowing the mind to rest in its natural flow, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The sentinel's unnecessary watch. Our minds, conditioned by the evolutionary imperative for survival, possess a powerful capacity for vigilance, for scanning the horizon for potential threats and dangers. While this protective mechanism serves a vital function in times of genuine peril, it can, in the absence of real danger, become a profound burden. The sentinel's unnecessary watch. We often remain on high alert, even when there is no immediate threat, our bodies tense, our minds exhausted by the constant, low-level hum of anxiety. This persistent mental scanning, a subtle tryshna for absolute safety, drains our energy and prevents us from experiencing the profound stillness and contentment that arise from trusting the sufficiency of the present moment. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the practice of gently easing the mind from this perpetual vigilance, allowing it to rest in its natural flow, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom. At the outermost edge of a vast ancient empire, where the winds whispered tales of past battles and forgotten conflicts, lived Lyra, a sentinel of legendary alertness. Her post was a solitary, windswept tower, its stones weathered by centuries of watchful eyes. For decades, Lyra had faithfully guarded her section of the border, her senses honed to the slightest shift in the wind, the faintest sound in the distance, the most subtle change in the light. Her vigilance had saved countless lives, and her reputation for unwavering duty was etched into the very stones of her tower. The rhythmic pacing of her watch, the keenness of her gaze, were once sources of deep purpose and concentration. Her samadhi, a profound stillness in the face of potential danger. However, in recent years, the empire had known lasting peace. The old threats had vanished, the borders were secure, and the land was prosperous. Yet, Lyra found herself unable to relinquish her ingrained vigilance. Her body remained perpetually tense, her shoulders hunched, her jaw clenched, even when there was no discernible threat. Her eyes, once sharp, were now perpetually strained, constantly scanning the horizon for dangers that had long passed, or for hypothetical threats that existed only in her mind. The silence of the peaceful nights, once a comfort, now felt unsettling, a pervasive anicca of impermanence in her own state of being, a subtle suffering that she could not quite name. Lyra's mind too continued its incessant watch. She would replay past skirmishes, analyzing every move, every decision, convinced she could have done more, or done it differently. She would project into the future, imagining new threats, new conflicts, even though there was no evidence of them. This tryshna, this craving for absolute control and safety, created a constant low-level hum of anxiety, preventing any deep rest or profound stillness. She yearned for the quiet peace she saw in the villagers below, whose lives, though simpler, seemed imbued with a groundedness and contentment that eluded her, despite her heroic service. One clear, star-dusted night, as Lyra stood her unnecessary watch, scanning an empty moonlit plain, her gaze fell upon an old, gnarled olive tree just outside her tower. It stood rooted, unmoving, its ancient branches swaying gently in the breeze, utterly without vigilance or concern for what might come. It simply was, embodying a profound stillness, a deep trust in its own presence. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within her. The tree did not need to scan for danger, it simply existed, trusting in the natural flow of life. Her own mind, she realized, was still fighting battles that no longer existed, preventing her from experiencing the peace she had earned. With this newfound clarity, Lyra began a new practice. She approached her internal vigilance not with self-reproach, but with an observing awareness, a sense of self-compassion. She acknowledged the ingrained habit of her mind, recognizing its past utility, but also its current burden. When she caught herself scanning, tensing, or projecting future dangers, she would gently, without judgment, bring her attention back to her body, to the sensation of her feet on the ground, to the rhythm of her breath. This was an act of radical acceptance, a deliberate letting go of the need for constant mental control, allowing her mind to rest in the spaciousness of non-striving. cultivating inner freedom. As Lyra persisted in this practice, her body slowly began to relax, her shoulders dropping, her jaw softening. Her eyes, once strained, gained a new, softer quality, capable of seeing the beauty of the peaceful landscape rather than just potential threats. Her mind too became calmer, less agitated, and more capable of experiencing profound stillness. She discovered a deep sense of contentment, a metta, in the simple act of being present, recognizing that true safety was not found in constant vigilance, but in trusting the sufficiency of the present moment, allowing her Buddha mind, her original nature, to express itself with effortless grace. Lyra's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of nirodha, the cessation of suffering through the understanding and release of craving. Her suffering, her dukkha, stemmed from her trishna, her craving for absolute safety and control. By embracing the wisdom of trusting the present and letting go of unnecessary vigilance, she found nirvana, a cessation of her mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing when our minds are caught in patterns of worry and gently, with metta, returning to a state of groundedness. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right effort in cultivating inner peace, allowing for the spaciousness necessary for deep rest and contentment. The esteemed Zen teacher Thich Nhat Hanh often spoke of walking as if you are kissing the earth with your feet. Lyra, by being perpetually on guard, was not truly present. By allowing her mind to rest, she began to experience a deeper connection to the earth, a true embodiment. This is the wisdom prajna of Wu Wei, effortless action, recognizing that profound stillness arises not from striving for safety, but from aligning with the natural flow of things, trusting in the sufficiency of the present. It is an act of self-knowledge, understanding what truly nourishes our spirit and what merely adds unnecessary weight, fostering a deep sense of inner peace. Consider the sentinel in your own mind. Are you constantly on an unnecessary watch, scanning for dangers that are not present, replaying past threats, or projecting future anxieties? Do these patterns of vigilance drain your energy and prevent you from experiencing true rest and profound stillness? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to gently ease your mind from its unnecessary watch today, bringing your attention back to the simple sensations of your body, to the rhythm of your breath, allowing yourself to trust in the sufficiency of the present moment. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of inner freedom, leading to deeper peace. As Lyra learned to release her unnecessary watch, her body found relaxation and her mind settled into a profound stillness, rooted in the sufficiency of the present moment. This understanding that a mind free from preconceptions or past mistakes can find true expression is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Hiroki, a young calligrapher who struggled with perfectionism, his mind cluttered with past errors and future expectations, exploring how approaching each stroke with beginner's mind, a fresh awareness, can unlock inner freedom in the purity of the blank page, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The calligrapher's empty page. Our minds, in their relentless pursuit of perfection, often become burdened by the weight of past errors and the anxieties of future expectations. We carry the memory of every misstep, every flawed attempt, and project these imperfections onto the canvas of the present moment, preventing us from approaching new experiences with freshness and clarity. This mental accumulation, a subtle trishna for an ideal outcome, obscures the inherent purity and potential of a beginner's mind. Mental minimalism, in this context, is the practice of cultivating shoshin, a fresh awareness that sees each moment, each task, each breath as an empty page, allowing for profound stillness, effortless expression, and a deep sense of inner freedom, unburdened by the clamor of what has been or what might be. In a quiet tea house, nestled in a bamboo grove where the rustle of leaves was the loudest sound, lived Hiroki, a young calligrapher of immense promise. His brushstrokes possessed a vibrant energy, yet his work often lacked the profound stillness and effortless grace that characterized true mastery. Hiroki was plagued by perfectionism. He would sit before a pristine sheet of rice paper, his mind filled with the memory of a previous flawed character, or the anxiety of how the next stroke might turn out. The pristine white of the page, rather than inviting, felt intimidating. A stark canvas awaiting his potential errors, a constant source of a nicker, of impermanence in his own developing skill. Hiroki would spend hours meticulously preparing his ink, grinding the sumi stick with a focused intensity, but the moment he lifted his brush to the paper, his hand would tremble slightly. His mind, instead of being fully present with the ink, the brush, and the paper, would race ahead, visualizing the finished character, anticipating judgment, or replaying past mistakes. This trishna, this craving for an ideal, flawless outcome, created a deep internal tension, a subtle suffering that permeated his entire being. He longed for the elegant simplicity he observed in his master's work, whose characters, though sometimes imperfect, exuded a profound stillness and a vibrant, unburdened energy, a deep sense of sufficiency. His master, an old, serene woman named Akiko, whose own calligraphy radiated a quiet power, observed Hiroki's struggle with gentle compassion. One day, after watching him crumple yet another sheet of paper in frustration, Akiko placed a freshly prepared brush in his hand. "Hiroki," she said softly, her voice like the rustle of silk, "the page is always empty. Your mind is what fills it, even before the ink touches the paper." She then took his hand, guided it to a fresh sheet, and with a single, unhesitating stroke, drew a simple, yet perfectly balanced circle. "This circle," she explained, "does not remember the last one, nor does it worry about the next. It simply is, in this moment, complete." Master Akiko then taught Hiroki the practice of shoshin, or beginner's mind. She instructed him to approach each new sheet of paper, each new character, as if he had never held a brush before, as if he knew nothing. He was to release the memory of past errors, the anxiety of future expectations, and simply be present with the ink, the brush, and the paper in that precise moment. When a thought arose, as it inevitably did, he was to gently acknowledge it, and then, without judgment or attachment, return his full presence to the sensation of the brush on the paper, to the rhythm of his breath, an act of radical acceptance, cultivating a profound stillness. As Hiroki persisted in this practice of beginner's mind, his calligraphy transformed. His brushstrokes became fluid and confident, imbued with a fresh, vibrant energy he had never experienced before. The trembling in his hand disappeared, replaced by a quiet steadiness that flowed from a mind unburdened by past or future. The characters he created possessed a new kind of inner freedom, a profound stillness that resonated with the spaciousness of the empty page. He discovered that by releasing the need for perfection, by embracing each moment as new, his true artistry, his Buddha mind, his original nature, could express itself with an effortless grace, fostering a deep sense of contentment and groundedness. Hiroki's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of anatta, non-self, in the sense that our past performances and future projections are not fixed aspects of our identity to be grasped, but rather transient mental constructs to be observed and released. His suffering, his dukkha, stemmed from his trishna, his craving for a flawless self and a perfect outcome. By cultivating shoshin and the practice of letting go, he found nirvana, a cessation of his mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing when our minds are caught in patterns of self-judgment or future anxiety, and gently, with metta, returning to the purity of the present moment. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right effort in cultivating a beginner's mind, allowing for the spaciousness necessary for true expression. The renowned Zen master Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, who popularized the term beginner's mind, taught that in the beginner's mind there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind there are few. Hiroki, by trying to be an expert, burdened by past mistakes and future expectations, limited his own possibilities. By embracing shoshin, he unlocked a boundless potential for creativity and inner freedom. This is the wisdom, prajna, of non-attachment, recognizing that true mastery is found not in accumulating knowledge, but in the spaciousness and contentment of approaching each moment with fresh eyes, allowing our original nature to express itself with profound stillness. Consider the empty page of your own mind. Are you constantly filling it with the memory of past errors, self-criticism, or anxieties about how future situations might unfold? Do these mental accumulations prevent you from approaching new experiences with freshness, clarity, and inner freedom? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to approach one small task today, one conversation, or even one breath, with a beginner's mind, releasing the weight of past and future, and simply being fully present with what is. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Hiroki embraced the purity of the empty page, his calligraphy found its true, unburdened expression, and his mind settled into a profound stillness, rooted in the freshness of each moment. This understanding, that a mind stripped of excess reveals its greatest beauty and purpose, is a vital aspect of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Alara, an old weaver who, after years of complex patterns, found deep satisfaction in creating simple, sturdy cloth, exploring how the mind, like the loom, finds its greatest beauty and purpose when stripped of excess, resting in its original nature, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness. The weaver's simple loom. After years of accumulating experiences, knowledge, and complex mental patterns, there often comes a point where the greatest wisdom lies not in further embellishment, but in a return to elegant simplicity. Our minds, accustomed to intricate thought processes and elaborate narratives, can find deep satisfaction and profound stillness when we consciously choose to strip away the excess, to release the unnecessary complexities, and to rest in our original nature. This journey back to the unadorned, to the essential, is the heart of mental minimalism. It is the recognition that, like a loom that finds its greatest beauty and purpose, when its threads are clear and its patterns intentional, our minds find their deepest peace and inner freedom when unburdened by the clamor of the non-essential, leading to a profound sense of contentment. In a village renowned for its vibrant textiles, where the air hummed with the rhythmic clack of looms and the scent of dyed wool, lived Alara, an old weaver whose hands had spun countless intricate patterns over her long life. Her early years were marked by a relentless pursuit of complexity. Her tapestries were dense with a multitude of colors, interwoven with elaborate symbols and intricate narratives, each a testament to her prodigious skill and her desire to express every possible facet of existence. Her studio was a kaleidoscope of threads, a symphony of textures, a constant dance of creation, reflecting her own vibrant and often busy mind, a pervasive anicca of impermanence in her artistic expression. Yet, despite the admiration her complex works garnered, Alara often felt a subtle disquiet, a pervasive trishna, a craving for something more, something simpler. The intricate patterns, while beautiful, demanded immense mental effort, often leaving her exhausted and fragmented. Her mind, perpetually engaged in the labyrinthine details of her designs, found little rest or profound stillness. She yearned for the quiet satisfaction she remembered from her youth, when she had first learned to weave simple, sturdy cloth, its beauty residing in its honest utility and its unadorned texture. This longing for simplicity, for a return to her original nature, became a subtle suffering, a deep form of dukkha. Alara's body, too, began to feel the strain of her intricate work. Her fingers, once nimble, now ached from the constant tension of complex weaving. Her eyes, once sharp, blurred from deciphering intricate patterns. She looked at her loom, a magnificent piece of craftsmanship, but it felt heavy, burdened by the sheer volume of threads and the complexity of her designs. She remembered her mentor, a wise, quiet weaver who, in her later years, had woven only plain, undyed cloth, its beauty radiating from its pure simplicity and its profound stillness, a deep sense of sufficiency, a groundedness that seemed to emanate from her entire being. One quiet afternoon, as Alara sat before her loom, a half-finished, overly complex tapestry stretched before her. Her gaze fell upon a small, plain piece of linen cloth she had woven decades ago. It was simple, unadorned, yet its texture was comforting, its strength undeniable. It spoke of honesty, of utility, of a quiet, unassuming beauty. It was utterly without pretense, perfectly sufficient in its present form. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within her. The loom's greatest purpose was not in complexity, but in the clarity and integrity of its simplest output. Her own mind, she realized, yearned for this same unadorned existence, a stripping away of excess. With this newfound clarity, Alara began a new practice. She gradually simplified her designs, reducing the number of colors, the intricacy of the patterns, and the sheer volume of threads. She focused on the quality of the fiber, the evenness of the weave, the honest texture of the cloth. This was an act of radical acceptance, a deliberate letting go of her attachment to external admiration and the craving for complexity. She found that by stripping away the excess, both from her designs and from her own mental constructs, her concentration, her samadhi, deepened effortlessly, cultivating inner freedom. As Alara embraced this return to simplicity, her weaving transformed. Her cloth, though simpler, possessed a new kind of beauty, a quiet strength that emanated from its essential form. Her studio, once a kaleidoscope of colors, became a space of elegant clarity, reflecting the newfound serenity within her mind. She found that by stripping away the excess, both from her loom and from her own mental patterns, her spirit felt lighter, more spacious. She discovered a profound stillness in the act of creating simple, sturdy cloth, a sense of contentment that arose from recognizing that true purpose was not about grand statements, but about the inherent richness of an unadorned existence, fostering a deep sense of groundedness. Ilara's journey beautifully illustrates the concept of sunyata, emptiness, not as a void, but as a spaciousness that allows true form and clarity to emerge. Her suffering, her dukkha, stemmed from her trishna, her craving for complexity and external validation. By embracing the wisdom of simplicity and the practice of letting go, she found nirvana, a cessation of her mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing when our minds are adding unnecessary layers of thought and gently, with metta, releasing them. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right understanding that true wisdom, prajna, often lies in the unadorned, the essential, allowing our Buddha mind, our original nature, to express itself with profound stillness. The philosopher Alan Watts, with his characteristic eloquence, often spoke of how the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Ilara, by clinging to her complex patterns, resisted the natural flow of her own evolving wisdom. By stripping away the unnecessary, she allowed her true artistry to move with a more authentic rhythm, a true Wu Wei. This is an act of self-knowledge, understanding that true abundance is found not in accumulation, but in the quality and presence we bring to each moment, fostering a deep sense of sufficiency. This allows for a spaciousness, a groundedness, where true inner freedom can flourish. Consider the loom of your own mind. Are you constantly weaving overly complex patterns of thought, accumulating unnecessary details, or striving for intricate mental constructs that leave you feeling exhausted and fragmented? Do these mental excesses obscure the inherent beauty and purpose of your original nature? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to simplify one small area of your mental landscape today, releasing the need for complexity and allowing for a bit more spaciousness, a bit more profound stillness. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a sense of sufficiency and allows your original nature to shine through with unadorned beauty. As Ilara embraced the simplicity of her loom, her cloth became a testament to unadorned existence, and her mind found a profound stillness in its original nature, free from excess. This understanding that an unburdened mind allows us to experience the vastness of the natural world, boundless and free, is the ultimate aspiration of mental minimalism. We will now turn our attention to Kyle, a traveler who, after shedding all his physical and mental burdens, experienced the mind as an open sky, where thoughts are like transient clouds, never truly altering its essence, fostering a deep sense of inner freedom and profound stillness, the open sky. At the culmination of our journey into mental minimalism, we arrive at the profound realization that the mind, in its deepest essence, is vast and boundless, much like an open sky. When stripped of the accumulated burdens of worries, anxieties, and unnecessary thoughts, its true nature is revealed as an expansive, luminous space. Thoughts, sensations, and emotions are like transient clouds that drift across this sky, appearing and disappearing without ever altering its fundamental essence or its inherent clarity. This understanding, a deep experience of sunyata or emptiness, is the ultimate inner freedom, a profound stillness where we recognize our original nature, the Buddha mind, as boundless and unburdened, fostering a deep sense of contentment and sufficiency. In a land of sweeping plains and distant shimmering horizons lived Kale, a traveler who for many years had journeyed with an immense physical and mental burden. His backpack, heavy with provisions, maps, and countless mementos from his past, mirrored the weight of his mind, which was cluttered with worries about the next day's journey, regrets about paths not taken, and anxieties about reaching an elusive destination. The beautiful landscapes he traversed often blurred into a backdrop for his internal struggle, a pervasive anicca of impermanence in his own experience, a subtle suffering that diminished his full presence. He was constantly striving, constantly carrying, never truly resting in the vastness around him. Kale's days were a relentless cycle of physical exertion and mental agitation. Each step was a battle against the weight on his shoulders and the clamor in his head. He believed that by carrying everything he might possibly need, and by mentally preparing for every conceivable obstacle, he was ensuring his safety and success. But this Trishna, this craving for absolute control and preparedness, ironically prevented him from experiencing the true joy of the journey. He longed for the profound stillness he sometimes glimpsed in the eyes of nomadic shepherds, whose few possessions seemed to allow them a deep connection to the open land, a sense of inner freedom that transcended material wealth. One evening, as Kale stood on a high ridge, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the vast sky in hues of orange and purple, an overwhelming weariness settled upon him. He looked at his heavy backpack, then at the boundless expanse of the sky above, utterly clear and unburdened. He realized with a sudden, profound clarity that the sky did not carry the weight of the clouds that passed through it. It simply allowed them to be, to move, to dissipate, without ever being diminished or altered by their presence. In that moment of profound stillness, a truth, simple yet powerful, resonated within him. His own mind, in its essence, was just as vast and unburdened as the open sky, if only he would let go of the clouds he insisted on carrying. With this newfound clarity, Kale began a profound transformation. He started by systematically shedding his physical burdens. He discarded unnecessary provisions, gave away heavy mementos, and simplified his maps, keeping only the essentials. This external decluttering mirrored an internal process of mental minimalism. He began to approach his thoughts and worries with the same discerning awareness. When a worry arose, he would gently observe it, like a cloud appearing in the sky, acknowledge its presence, and then, without judgment or attachment, allow it to drift away, recognizing its transient nature, an act of radical acceptance. As Kyle embraced this practice of letting go, both physically and mentally, his journey transformed. His steps became lighter, more purposeful, and his mind, once cluttered, became increasingly spacious and clear. He discovered a profound stillness in the vastness of the natural world, a deep connection to the earth beneath his feet and the open sky above. He found that by releasing the need to carry every burden, to control every outcome, he gained a sense of inner freedom, a profound contentment, a metta that transcended any external circumstance. His perception sharpened, his senses awakened, and he experienced the world with a vividness he had never known, a true embodiment of his Buddha mind, his original nature. Kale's journey beautifully illustrates the ultimate aim of mental minimalism, to recognize and rest in the mind's inherent spaciousness, its sunyata. His suffering, his dukkha, stemmed from his trishna, his craving to carry and control. By embracing the wisdom of letting go, he found nirvana, a cessation of his mental burden and a profound stillness. This is the essence of mindfulness, sati, recognizing that thoughts are like clouds in the open sky, never truly altering its essence. The Noble Eightfold Path calls us to right concentration, cultivating a single-pointed focus that allows us to observe awareness, to rest in the vastness of our own being, fostering a deep sense of sufficiency and inner peace. The revered Zen master Shunryu Suzuki Roshi often used the metaphor of the sky and clouds to describe the mind. He taught that you are the sky, everything else is just the weather. Kyle's experience perfectly embodies this wisdom. By identifying with the open sky of his awareness, rather than the transient clouds of his thoughts and worries, he found true liberation. This is the wisdom, prajna, of non-attachment, recognizing that our inner freedom is not dependent on the absence of thoughts, but on our relationship to them. It is an act of self-knowledge, understanding that our original nature is boundless and unburdened, allowing for a profound stillness and effortless grace, a true Wu Wei. Consider the open sky of your own mind. Are you constantly identifying with the clouds of your worries, your anxieties, your past regrets, or your future projections, believing them to be your true self? Do these mental clouds obscure the inherent vastness, clarity, and inner freedom of your own awareness? There is no need for self-judgment, only a gentle invitation to observe this tendency. Perhaps you can choose to simply watch your thoughts today, like clouds drifting across the sky, acknowledging their presence without grasping or resisting, and then gently returning your attention to the boundless spaciousness of your own awareness. This intentional practice, rooted in self-compassion, cultivates a profound stillness and a sense of sufficiency, leading to deeper peace. As Kale journeyed onward, his steps light, his mind clear and boundless like the open sky, he found a profound stillness in every moment, a deep connection to the vastness of existence. His journey reveals that true inner peace is not found in seeking, but in the radical acceptance of what is, and the profound wisdom of letting go of all that does not serve our highest good. We will now gently conclude our shared path, inviting you to reground into your body and the present, preparing for a deep and restorative sleep, knowing that you already possess all the sufficiency and wonder you need, simply by being, resting in the stillness of sufficiency. As our shared journey through the landscapes of mental minimalism gently draws to a close, we invite you to softly reground your awareness into the sanctuary of your own body, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your breath, the comforting weight of your limbs. There is nothing more you need to do, nowhere else you need to be. You are here, in this moment, in this space of quiet contemplation, and that in itself is profoundly sufficient. Allow any lingering thoughts or sensations to simply be, observing them with a soft, accepting awareness, like distant echoes fading into the night. The path we have walked together through the weaver's loom, the potter's clay, and the open sky has been an invitation to remember the inherent spaciousness and inner freedom that resides within you. The practice of letting go, of gently decluttering the mind of useless worries, is not about emptying yourself, but about revealing the profound stillness and contentment that are your original nature. You already carry within you all the wisdom, all the peace, and all the sufficiency you truly need. There is no destination to reach, only this present moment to inhabit with a deep sense of self-compassion. Now, as you prepare to transition into deep, restorative sleep, allow your body to relax completely, releasing any remaining tension. Feel the gentle pull of gravity, inviting you deeper into rest. Let the concerns of the day, like the last embers of a campfire, slowly fade into darkness. There is nothing left to hold on to, no problem to solve, no future to plan. Simply allow yourself to be cradled by the profound stillness of this moment, trusting in the natural flow of your being, knowing that your mind, in its essence, is vast and unburdened. Embrace this sacred pause, this precious time for your spirit to replenish and renew. You are worthy of this deep rest, this quiet peace. Allow yourself to marvel at the simple, miraculous act of falling asleep, a gentle surrender to the unknown, a profound act of trust in the inherent wisdom of your own body and mind. This is your sanctuary, your inner harbor of peace, always accessible, always waiting. Rest now in the boundless spaciousness of your own awareness. If these words have resonated with a quiet truth within you, if this space has offered a moment of solace and inner freedom, we invite you to return whenever you need to reconnect with this profound stillness. Consider subscribing to ensure this sanctuary of peace remains readily available to you, a constant beacon in the journey of your life. May your sleep be deep, your dreams be peaceful, and your awakening be filled with clarity and renewed purpose. Good night.